The first one is Alan Martin's withdrawal from the NPP flag bearer race. It's a good riddance to the man who has contested for the particular position since 2007, or his withdrawal from the race spells doom for NPP's Break the 8 agenda. He did not just withdraw because he could not make the significant impact that he would have wanted, but he cited many reasons, such as intimidation and the fact that the process to shortlist the 10 to 5 was skewed to favor one particular candidate. He did not mention the candidate, but it's quite obvious who that candidate is. We'll delve into that later. So we're asking, is his withdrawal from the race, of course, not a resignation from the party? This is very different from the 2008 episode. His withdrawal from the race, is it good riddance, or it's trouble for the NPP? We will discuss that with our guests this morning. Also, another topical matter which has been discussed widely in the week is a matter of the leaked IGP tape. Is it time for a full-scale probe into the matter, given the new revelations that have come up? Yesterday or 2 days ago, we saw some new information in terms of videos making the rounds, videos involving Bugri Nabu, some contracts and some monies exchanging hands, etc., as stated in the video. Does the emergence of this video change anything? Also, the IGP, or the police service, interdicted the 3 officers in question, COP George Alex Mensah, Superintendent Asari, and Superintendent JB. They were interdicted, and it was said from the statement that they were to meet the disciplinary committee of the police service. Few hours later, another statement also came up, kind of making a U-turn, saying that the interdiction of the 3 officers has been suspended, whatever that means. Interdiction suspended. In the meantime, the parliamentary probe is still ongoing. We do not know what Parliament is doing now in respect of that, but we understand that the process is still ongoing once they've not submitted their report. And before the committee finished hearing Superintendent Asari, there were indications that IGP Dampari would be invited. And given the new revelations that have come up, given some kind of traction to what the 3 officers in question have been saying about the leadership style, etc., do you think that the IGP should be invited by the committee? Or should the president or the Minister for Interior set up a full-blown committee or commission of inquiry into the matters of the leak tape, which will encompass other matters of managerial competence, among others? I'm interested to know what you think. My name is Selam Adunu. Once again, welcome to the program. I'll take a short break, return, give you some updates, introduce my guest, and then we'll get a discussion underway. Once again, this is The Big Issue. You're welcome. Hi, you're welcome back. This is A Big Issue, 97.3 Citi FM, also live on Facebook. 2 issues on the table today. Alan Martin's withdrawal from the NPP flag bearer race. Good riddance or trouble for the NPP? How does the NPP put itself together to finish or conclude the November 4 contest? Will anything drastically change in terms of the expectations of the persons who may win, or the placement of the persons in the November 4 election? What happens to the party afterwards? Remember, the defeat of 2008, for the most part, was blamed on Alan Martin and the fact that, the contest of 2007 did not help party cohesion. We will look at that in detail. Also, the leaked IGP tape saga, full-scale probe needed following the new revelations. We've seen new videos which have emerged. In those leaked videos, we've seen Bugri Nabu arguing with some persons about some monies received from the IGP, some contract sums, some contract deals, etc. Could this give credence to the point made by Superintendent Asari and COP Mensa, etc., that the IGP was behind the recording of the tapes? Could this give any credence to those? And could it be that there was some collusion between Bugri Nabu and the IGP to expose these officials? Even if there were, is there anything wrong with that? We will deal with all of those. Do we need a full-scale investigation, a probe, commission of inquiry of a kind into the conduct of the parties involved? This will form the basis of our discussion today. But let me provide you some updates. Alan Kojo Shamanti, one of the flag-bearer hopefuls of the New Patriotic Party, has withdrawn from the race. He made the announcement in a statement dated September 5, 2023. Mr. Shamanti, who placed third in the NPP's 26 August Special Delegates Conference, said he opted out of the race following the intimidation of his agents. He also said the race seems to be deliberately skewed to favor one of the candidates. The following report has more.
To some other stories, and flag bearer hopeful Alan Chamantin has withdrawn from the NPP flag bearer race. Why is he doing this? This report will give us details on why he decided to pull out of the race.
In a two-page statement, Alan Chamantin says, quote, "After having carefully analyzed the results of the said election, it is absolutely clear to me from events leading to, during and after the election that the Special Delegates Conference was strategically and tactically skewed in favor of one particular aspirant." Unquote. The statement added that, quote, "The pronouncement made by some leading members of our party, both before and after the election, also lend weight to my observation. The level of intimidation, varying intensity directly and indirectly unleashed on a significant number of delegates at various voting centers across the 16 regions is unprecedented in the history of our party. In addition, the fact that my polling agent in the Northeast region has suffered severe damage to his eyesight, arising from his bold and courageous effort to ensure compliance with the very rules and regulations for the conduct of the election as approved by the Presidential Elections Committee, will forever remain a dark spot in the history of internal elections within the party," unquote. The statement concludes that, quote, "In light of the foregoing, I wish to confirm that I am honorably withdrawing from the process that will lead to the presidential primaries to be held on the 4th of November 2023. In the next coming weeks, I will provide an indication of the role I will play in politics in Ghana after consultation with my family and other well-wishers, various stakeholders and interest groups. I wish all the aspirants well as they continue on their journey. I also wish to use the opportunity to express my profound gratitude once again to my family, the Alan for President campaign team, and all my teaming supporters across the country and from around the world who have supported me in diverse ways over the years. Please be assured that the battle is still the Lord's, and that those who wait upon the Lord shall have their strength renewed. God bless our homeland Ghana and make our nation great and strong. Signed, Alan Chamantin," unquote.
All right, so that's a short report detailing what happened following the withdrawal of Alan Chamantin from the NPP flag bearer race. The big race or contest is on November 4, and it's been said times without number that it is that election that matters, and that what was done on August 26th was just to sift and shortlist to 5, as their constitution has said. And Alan and his people were, before that primary or before that particular superdelegates election, upbeat about the fact that they will make the 5 or they will make the cut, and this one didn't really matter. And then what mattered really was the November 4. So we're all anticipating a very, very competitive and keenly fought November 4 race. But sometime this week, he was to address a press conference, and we're wondering what he was going to say, called it off, and later he issued a statement withdrawing from the race, and he just did not withdraw from it. It's not actually a big deal for somebody to withdraw from the race. It happens every time. If you do your analysis and you realize that you will not make any impact, sometimes it's better to withdraw. You save resources, save everybody time and everything. But he withdrew because he had specific issues with the process. He thought the process was deliberately skewed to favor one of the candidates. And though he did not name any candidate, when you speak to persons in his camp and persons who watch the space, the general belief is that the Alan camp thinks that the party skewed the process to favor Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, who overwhelmingly won in this particular election. Because of that, he said he did not find it necessary to continue running. And he cited the fact that his followers and his supporters were being intimidated, etc. Of course, we know about the case of his coordinator for the Northeast region who was beating, his eyes swollen, and we were told that his people had shifted and he could not open his eye again. All those things, according to Alan Chermantin, influenced his decision to opt out of the race. That's one of our discussion points today. To help us do the discussion, we have Abraham Amaliba, who is Director, Conflict Resolution of the NDC, the Honorable Ebenezer Nate, a former Member of Parliament for Ablekuma Central. We have Professor Kobi Mensah, who is a political communication strategist, and also Franklin Kujo, President of Imani Africa. Gentlemen, you are welcome to the program.
Thank you. Thank you.
I start off with you, the Honorable Nate, because your party is the NPP that is having to go through this issue, if it's an issue at all. But Mr. Maleba, this is the first time we're having you on the program since you took on the new role of conflict resolution. What was conflict resolution? I mean, does NDC have conflicts, a lot of conflicts, and why the creation of this particular role? And we've seen the creation of a number of new roles. So what will you be doing really as Director of Conflict Resolution? Of course, we understand conflict resolution, but why is it so important that the NDC will have a directorate to be dealing with conflicts?
Thank you very much. As you are aware, the party is growing. And if a party of this nature is growing, you should expect that once a while you have issues relating to misunderstandings. We want to have a situation where we have early warning signals that would be tapped into, so that if in any part of the country or within the party there are disagreements among members, there are disagreements amongst party leadership, this department will be the one that will provide the party with those information so that the party can move quickly to douse them. Rather than waiting for matters to end up in court, we think that we want to cut down on the number of our members who will be rushing to court every now and then and derailing our process. You remember one such court process nearly derailed our parliamentary and presidential elections. And it was at the tail end that we were able to wiggle our way out. So this department, being a new department, is supposed to ensure that disagreements, conflicts that arise within the party are nipped in the bud long before even anybody thinks about going to court. So it will also assist the Legal Affairs Directorate to not constantly go into court and focus on rather defending the party in areas such as fighting state institutions that are supposed to do right things and they are not doing the right things, and not to have the Legal Affairs Department going to court because of disagreements within the party. So it will take that pressure away from the Legal Affairs Department, where you have a constituency executive suing the party and you have to rush to court. So this department is supposed to deal with the differences that arise within the party. And
so this department deals with So let's say the legal affairs department will have to go to court when the matters have gone to court, but you will identify the matters, deal with them
before
so they don't escalate.
They don't escalate.
Very well.
Yeah.
All right, great. But you're still a member of the legal team, obviously. You're
a very senior member of the party.
That's fine.
Legal
Great.
team, yeah.
Great. All right, so Honorable Nati, I don't know where you belong because we understand a number of the MPs, it's a majority of the MPs, about 80% or so of them belong to the Bawumia camp. I mean, are you also in the Bawumia camp?
Good morning, my brother. Let me say good morning to our viewers and listeners as well. And this is my first time of coming here. I've been to your old place. But I have not been called yesterday. Like by now, I would go to that side.
Okay.
So,
but the radio is there. So.
Yes. So I thank you for inviting me. And let me take this opportunity to say good morning to my constituents, more especially the good people of Ablekuma Central constituency. And then let me wish some people who are celebrating their birthday in my constituency, Sarah Alute, who is celebrating her birthday, my brother and friend Ebenezer Piaget, also celebrating his birthday, and then one of the people who want to contest me in the primaries, Jefferson Saki.
Okay, that's Jefferson Saki's constituency as well.
But I'll give him a showdown. So
you give him a showdown?
I'll give him a showdown. So I wish him a happy birthday. I pray to God to grant all of them their heart's desire.
I see.
Right.
So I guess you have the birthday list of your constituents. I see. All right. So that obviously means that you, of course, you're a former MP. The NDC has a seat now.
Yeah.
And you are hoping to take it back from the NDC.
Definitely.
And so you are going through the process.
Yes.
When is the election?
The date is not fixed yet, but the party have decided that latest by on the 2nd of December, we should be able to finish all our parliamentary primaries. So we are yet to start with the vetting.
So you've not done vetting too?
We have not done your vetting yet. And then maybe probably by December, latest by December. But today and tomorrow, they are doing some acclamation. There are some constituencies that people, only one person pick a nomination form. So in those constituencies, they are doing acclamation today and tomorrow. And then I think that ours will be following maybe in a week or two, start with our vetting, and then have the election.
But how can you be in a contest without knowing the date of the election? Is that not a bother? How do you plan? I mean, in terms of resources, how do you plan to spread the resources? How do you spread your time, etc.?
That's what I'm saying. The date, they have not fixed a particular date.
Which is important, isn't it?
Yes, but we have been told that by the end, by 2nd December, we should be able to finish with all our parliamentary primaries,
including
the orphan constituencies. No. The sitting MP's nomination will be open, I think, on the 15th of December.
Okay.
And their election will be held in February. But ours will be held latest by 2nd of December. But we are doing the vetting probably either a week or two. We'll be doing vetting. And when you do vetting, you have to wait for the vetting's report.
Yes.
After the report, if there are people that maybe have been disqualified, they have to meet the arbitration committee and all those things. So I'm hoping that by December 2nd, we'll finish with it.
Very well. We wish you the very best in that race, and we'll be there to cover and provide updates as and when the dates are set. So yes, but are you a Bawumia camp person? Now it appears that's where a lot of people belong.
But I was the pulling agent for Bawumia at the national headquarters.
Oh, you were the pulling agent for Bawumia?
Yes, I was the pulling agent for him.
I see. Yes. But so what's the talk in your camp? Is your camp surprised that Alan Kyerematen withdrew from the race?
Not that we are surprised, but I believe that it's democracy, and everybody wants the best for the party. And we believe that currently the vice president is capable of leading the party for the 2024 election. So therefore, most of us decided. There are some members of parliament, there are some former ministers of state, there are some former members of parliament, there are current deputy ministers who are supporting Alan Kyerematen. So when I hear people saying that the institution is scheming against Alan Kyerematen and other aspirants, I get so worried and get so disturbed about it. Because let me give you one example. The Deputy Minister for Finance, Abdon Sassari, supporting Alan Kyerematen. Finance Ministry. We have the Minister for Railways, Honorable Peter Amewu, supporting Alan Kyerematen.
These are only two examples you can give.
We have
for Abna Osei-Asare, we know the history of, we know her past, her father, everybody. So
somebody can also give you an history between him and Dr. Baumaya. My own brother and friend, my brother, it's my blood brother, Sylvester Tete, supporting Alan Chairman. There's one, Carlos Ahinkra, MP for Tema West, supporting Alan Chairman.
That is understandable because he was deputy to him, so it only means that they would have worked together and he felt that he was the guy.
It can also go against him. It might also be in the same ministry, but it can also go against him. So it doesn't matter. Every one of us have our own thinking. And we believe that following this person, there's no problem with it. Supporting this person, there's no problem with it. For me, I think that it is neither here or there that government machinery. The last time I was asking somebody, that did you know who the president voted for when he came to the National Headquarters to cast his vote on 26th of August? Did you know who the chief of staff voted for? Do you know who the former chief of staff, Kodon Pieni, voted for when he came to cast his vote? So,
but we could tell by their utterances and by their conduct who they might vote for. Of course, the vote is secret, and until they tell us that this is the person they voted for, we will not know. But
I can speak for you, but at the same time vote against you.
Of course.
So I might show some displeasure about the attitude or certain thing that goes on, which I think that it might not help us.
So the point you're making is that what people might have, like, it didn't matter whether people were supporting one candidate or not.
To be honest and sincere with you, I don't see any wrong with anybody supporting somebody, to be honest with you.
But the allegation has been that, and Alan said this in his letter, or his statement, he said that the process appeared skewed. And by that, the inference is that there was an establishment candidate. And the establishment did all it could to marshal forces for him, to make him visible and to make him the person who will win at all costs. And we saw in the results that he pulled quite a number of votes, overwhelmingly. And so the argument is that if you have the whole system behind one person, it makes it difficult for anybody to just make any.
That is why I'm saying that
useful continuing with the process.
Where do we draw the line saying that it's a system that is supporting a candidate? And when we talk about the process, Alan Chairman went to the national office to visit the national executives, promised to print the register that is going to be used at the various constituencies to the party. Dr. Mahmoud Baumia visited the national headquarters, promised to pay for the membership card for party people. The process for the election.
So those things happen. So it means the register that was paid for by Alan.
Exactly. So I don't.
ID cards used were paid for by Baumia.
No, it's not everybody who even uses ID card. Because the election, we ask of your accreditation that shows that you are a delegate, either your Ghana card or your voter's ID card. We didn't even use the party card. But we are rolling out a new membership card. And so he decided to pay for. Allah decided to pay for the membership card. So when we say that the process was not fair to him, I asked so many questions. Ballot was not done by the committee. It was the EC who did the balloting. So you cannot say that, because we did balloting, but we have picked number 10. What about Kennedy picking number 1? What about the others picking number 5 and number 6? And at every instance of the process before the election, candidates or their reps are being invited to discuss. Anytime people raise concern, you can remember there was a concern being raised about the register, that there are some people who are not supposed to vote, there are some people that are not included in all those things. A meeting was called. It was rectified. And at the end of the day, they were all satisfied with the decision, and we went ahead for the election. So when people complain about some of these things, I just ask myself, what actually do people want the process to be? How do they want the process to be done? Because for me, I think that all what we are supposed to do as a party was done. Proper engagement was done. At any given time when alarms are being blown, people raise concerns and they're being rectified. On that day when we got to the center, my brother and friend Hobson Adore was the agent for Alan Chairman. He said where we have put the ballot box and then the pool is not right, so it should be turned. I just kept quiet. I told the EC that, look, do what they are supposed to, they think that it is right. That will bring peace. Anybody who came to cast his or a vote on that day passed through the normal process just as any other person. The first person who came to cast his vote was the president. When he came, I asked the one who is following that master, go and bring your voter's ID card before you come and cast your vote. President,
but you see, it may not be
it.
Events just on the voting day. I read portions of his statements he issued on the September 5, and it says that after having carefully analyzed the results of the said elections, it is absolutely clear to me from events leading to, during and after the elections, and that's on your screen, that the Special Delegates Conference was strategically and tactically skewed in favor of one particular aspirant. Says the pronouncements made by some leading members of our party, both before and after the elections, also lend weight to my observations. Now, this is it. So the level of intimidation of varying intensity. So the intimidation, he's alleging that it was a spectrum. Okay, and so there were varying intensity. Some were not so intense, very intense ones too. Directly and indirectly unleashed on a significant number of delegates at various voting centers across the 16 regions is unprecedented in the history of our party. In addition, the fact that my polling agent in Northeast region has suffered severe damage to his right eyesight, arising from his bold and courageous effort to ensure compliance with the very rules and regulations for the conduct of the elections as approved by the Presidential Elections Committee, will forever remain a dark spot in the history of internal elections within our party. The incident and the various acts of violence and collusion reported in other voting centers are appalling, unconscionable, and despicable. And he says that he is committed to the value of the safety of those who work with him and for him, and he will always fight for their interest. He said the question he keeps asking himself is, how did we get here as a party in the first place? And how far are we prepared to tread on this dangerous path of self-destruction? Regrettably, I'm convinced that the circumstances I have referred to earlier will not persist or even be escalated in the next round of elections, for which balloting is scheduled for Wednesday, 6th of September 2023. It goes ahead to say that in the light of the foregoing, I wish to confirm that I'm honorably withdrawing from the process that will lead to the presidential primary to be held on November 4, 2023. In the next coming weeks, I will provide an indication of the role that I will play in politics in Ghana after consultations with my family and well-wishers, various stakeholders and interest groups, and that is pregnant. That's a very pregnant statement, and we await the aftermath of the consultations. It goes ahead to say that I wish all the other aspirants well as they continue on their journey. I also wish to use this opportunity to express my profound gratitude once again to my family, the Alam for President, the campaign team, and all my teaming supporters in Ghana and from around the world who have supported me in diverse ways over the years. Please be assured that the battle is still the Lord's, and that those who wait upon the Lord shall have their strength renewed. God bless our homeland Ghana and make our nation great and strong. Signed, Honorable Alan Chermantin. This is it. Very, very, very serious statements he has made. You know, intimidation of varying intensity, directly and indirectly. You know, are you telling me that these things are just being made, allegations are just being made in a vacuum? He is in there and he knows, he who feels it knows it. He is suffering the intensity of the intimidation. His people cannot come out openly. His financiers are being chased here and there. So he's come to a place where, you know, he's suffocated. So he had to, you know, opt out of the race. That is serious.
When he talks about intimidation, I don't know the intimidation that he's talking about. Apart from the Northeast that he set an example. Can you give me one other polling center that there was a problem there? Or there's one center that there was an intimidation at that place?
We had a threat of showdown. Some people's polling
so
agents
have you find out from
Maybe his
Kennedy?
didn't come out.
No, have you find out from Kennedy? Have you find out from Kennedy why he made that statement and what the issue was?
The showdown.
You see, sometimes people just exaggerate and be saying things that they know that there's no fact with it.
So the
To be
showdown
honest
was
with you,
business?
I'm telling you that I was an agent for Baumia at the national headquarters. You can call Opsi. I can give you his number. Ask him whether there was any intimidation at the polling station at the headquarters.
No, but the headquarters is a place for the creme de la creme, the top people. So you not misbehave there.
Greater Accra, 71 people went to cast their vote. Can you give me one example of what happened in Greater Accra? Kojo Asimeni was an agent for how do you call it? Kennedy at Central Region. Call them and find out. So apart from the Northeast, that there was an incident as to what transpired, as to what really happened. Me sitting here, I don't know. I don't really know what happened, whether the person who was hurt, the Alan's agent, whether it was from Baumia's camp or whether it's from Kennedy's camp or any other person's camp. I don't know. So how then do you jump into conclusion and say that because of one incident, there's been intimidation at centers and other places? Talk about people, financiers refusing. When you are going for election, people just do analysis. I'm putting my money in this venture.
But the financiers tell you that, Charlie, because I'm supporting you, I'm not getting this. These guys are not paying because they tell me that I'm supporting you. So they will not give me money to come and support you.
That is his word against the words of the people. I can decide to tell you the stories. If I don't have the money, I can tell the stories.
We knew this before the race, before the August 26th race.
Who knew it?
I said we knew this.
Yes.
I mean, they had complained about this before.
About people, conductors are even complaining that they are not being paid. So because you come to me for money and I didn't get the money for you, meaning that because I'm supporting you,
no, but they give him reasons that because you are supporting.
That's what I'm saying. That is the person just saying something to just satisfy you.
Very well.
Because if indeed the person really wants to support you, he will not tell you what he's telling you. That because I am supporting you, finance ministry is refusing to pay me to get money for you. I mean,
I see.
Who will believe
but
this?
A lot of things happen in politics, you know that, including mafia tactics. And
a lot of things happen in politics.
Very well. We'll come back. Mr. Maliba, this is really not your race, but I'm sure you guys are watching keenly, and it does appear that your nightmare will happen, Dr. Baumia. A lot of people have said that you guys fear him. It appears that with Alan getting out of the race and all of that, it's a straight fight between Dr. Baumia and Kennedy Japan. Most likely, others have said that Baumia is likely to emerge as winner. What do you make of Alan Kyerematen's withdrawal from the race and some of the issues that he cited as basis for his withdrawal?
Let me start by saying that Dr. Baumia is the least person that the NDC is afraid of. Indeed, we would have been afraid of Alan more than Dr. Baumia.
Really? But it appears all your attacks are towards Baumia.
Because he has credibility issues. Indeed, for us, if Baumia emerges, the campaign will be much easier than if it were Alan Kyerematen.
I see.
But, you see, the withdrawal of Alan, together with the reasons he gave, for me, is a scar on the conscience of our democracy. Why am I saying this? Alan is not talking about numbers, as my colleague wants us to believe, that it's just one person. Alan did not talk about numbers. Probably he didn't read Alan's statement. Alan talks about intensity of intimidation and threats. The degree. That's what he talked about. And when you are going for internal elections and you gouge out one's eye, how does that make it better? Because it's just one person. If you are going for internal elections and you're already gouging out, and that is just the preliminary one, well, how about the other one they are going to do in November? How many eyes will they gouge out? And that is what Alan is talking about. So he shouldn't say numbers. Alan did not state numbers in his statement. He said the intensity of the threats and the intimidations has never happened in their party before. So they should get that right. But am I surprised? I'm not surprised. Because there's a saying that if you create a monster, and this is one of my favorite sayings, if you create a monster to eat up your opponent, after it has finished eating up your opponent, because it is used to blood, because that monster is used to drinking blood, it will turn itself on you yourself. In the general elections, they kill 8 people to become president. What do you expect in their own internal elections? Are you surprised? Don't be surprised. And so, what is happening in the NPP is nothing new. But would that affect the NPP? Yes. Already, the withdrawal has created a situation where they couldn't proceed with their balloting, isn't it? Because he resigned
a day before.
A day. And the balloting is in hiatus. It's hanging. That shows you the caliber of Alan Chiromati in the NPP. Those who think that is just a mere resignation or a mere withdrawal from a contest, look at the person. Alan is a colossus, particularly when you get to the Ashanti region.
But that didn't show the results.
Those me, you, and your cameraman are saying that times are hard. Those who went and voted are those who are benefiting. Are you getting my analysis? Even if times are hard, but there are people who are benefiting under this time as a hard government. They were the ones who went to vote. So what do you expect?
Really?
Oh yeah. What do you expect? To gauge the people's concerns, I saw a video where in Kumasi, I think Dr. Mahmoud Baunya's vehicles were passing through town and the traders were hooting at him. I saw that. Maybe your cameraman will help you to get it. And these are the real Kumasi people. Why would they be hooting at? I'm sure, that was when there was something at Asantehini's Palace in Kumasi recently.
Is it Akwesida?
I think so. And
where he went for blessings from Asantehini.
Whatever happened. But the people, when the VAs were passing, they were hooting at him. So
maybe they were NDC people.
Oh. Like you indicated, we are not concerned about their elections.
But he's vice president for everybody. So once he was passing, he's vice president for Ghana. And of course, he's not 100% popular. I mean, he could be popular, but I'm not sure about.
And I'm talking about the colossal nature of Alan Chiromati amongst the Ashanti region people. That's what I'm talking about. And so, will it have an effect? It would. Depending on how he carries himself from now till next year. We are hearing that he may form a party, or he may go independent, or he may just sit aloof. Any of these three will be drawing from the NPP stock. He sits aloof, meaning that there's going to be apathy amongst his supporters. He forms a political party, meaning that he's drawing from the NPP stock, votes away. He goes independent, is the same thing. So, Alan's withdrawal from the race should not be seen as child's play. And it is only the fish that will come out of the water and tell you that the crocodile has one eye. Alan is the one who is feeling the pinch. So you don't sit here and say that, oh, but this didn't happen there, this didn't happen there. You know where it pinches most when you wear your shoe. And so he knew what he went through when he contested the elections. And so when he's coming out and telling you some of these things, look, a committee has been set we are in the third weekend. Next week will be third week. A committee has been set to look into the matters. What have you heard?
But they've not finished. The committee is sitting.
But committee will be sit till the kingdom come.
Just 3 weeks. You don't even have 3 weeks.
No. Look, there should have been some findings now. If you are a serious political party wanting to douse the fire, because you need to deal with these matters before you go to the next stage. You are balloting for the next stage. How about my concerns? What is happening to my concerns? And so, if you are a serious political party, you don't allow these things to continue to fester. Who has been punished? Nobody has been punished. And so, I am of the view that, yes, there could be an establishment candidate, but the way and manner in which the establishment is going about, these elections and skewing it, according to Alan Chiromante, is the reason why we have these tensions. Because it is like everybody has been whipped into line. Those who have not been whipped into line, and he's mentioning them, are those who are deviants. And they see them as such. They see them as people who are not playing to the game. But why? Are you surprised that the establishment is behind Dr. Bawumia? The establishment, led by Nana Akufo-Addo, will definitely be looking for a malleable person who can give him protection when he leaves office.
Why will they give him protection when he leaves office?
This government has created a lot of rot. Corruption under this government has never been seen in Ghana since independence. You have a president who continues clearing his ministers and telling them, oh, they will be cleared. Oh, nothing has gone wrong. Oh, he wished them well. They will be exonerated. All these things. You have a finance minister who has used his position to amass wealth using his data bank. So, recently you saw 1 million in somebody's room. And so, the establishment is looking for who can protect them when they are in opposition. And they think that the person who can do that effectively is
who will protect them when they are in opposition, or
when they leave office.
Yes, I mean,
apparently thinking that they will win the elections.
Yes, they need somebody who will make them win the election, and they think that person is Dr. Bawumia. That's okay.
And I'm saying that they're looking for somebody
who is malleable,
so that they can continue to enjoy their loot. Why? Didn't the NPP say that they have a system where people take their turns? And didn't Nana Akufo-Addo tell the people of this country that Allah will be the next after him? And that gave birth to his resignation, his refusal to go for the second round in Legon. You remember that?
No, but I thought that was said in his victory speech. So that was said after he had stepped down from the race. So that did not...
No, I'm saying that there were processes that led to the stepping down. And that gave birth to his comment that because of that, you'll be the next.
I see.
So, if all these things, and did I hear that there was a meeting held in Kufuor's house, and those in attendance were the President, Nana Akufo-Addo, and Alan. And at that meeting,
just recently,
and at that meeting, Akufo-Addo banged the table and said that he will make sure that Bawumia becomes president. Is there such a meeting?
When was this? Like, when did this come up? After the resignation?
Yes, after the resignation.
But if after the withdrawal, if it's withdrawn, then there's just a few people, and
No, listen to me. There was a meeting between the two of them at Kufuor's house.
And the meeting was to discuss what? There are
I'm
a
saying
lot of candidates.
Intelligence have been picked. And I'm saying that at that meeting, Nana Akufo-Addo stormed out of the meeting and banged the table. Was there such a meeting?
I don't know.
Okay. So, food for thought. But it is clear that the resignation is creating ripples. It's creating instability in the NPP. But like we are saying, we can only watch, and we are watching.
I see. Prof, It does appear, so Professor Kobe Mensah is a political communication strategist, he's with the University of Ghana Business School. Is it not the case that Alan Kyerematen is finding excuses for his abysmal showing in the August 26 poll? He didn't even come second. He's always been number 2 to Nanado. Now Bawumia comes and he's not number 2, he's number 3. It's so embarrassing. He doesn't know what to pin it on. So he says his people were intimidated and uses one incident of his Northeast coordinator to say that there were intimidation instances and all of that, and because of that, is opting out of the race. Is it not just finding excuses for an abysmal performance?
Salam, thank you, and let me say good morning to Abraham and Honorable. Thanks for sharing the platform with me, and of course I hear Franklin will be here as well, or is here as well. I don't think so, and I would give you instances. I think that when Honorable was actually speaking, he said that he doesn't understand why people argue that the processes have been skewed, just like Alan said, and he gave instances, why he doesn't think so. Now, because the platform is also for educational purposes, I would like to veer into that side a little bit so that at least public would understand why we do some of these analyses. It is very well and good for, political communication coming from the sources of a political party to actually tone the line of, Honorable's position, because obviously they serve as black boxes. They can give information that appear to be cogent to the public. But of course, that is not all the information. You remember, there's a certain asymmetry between what we know and what they know. Of course, they would not come out to tell us the kind of things that they know, but that is not to the benefits of the party. And so those of us who are outside, including the opposition, like Amaleba is actually taking a position, we then serve as the filter to sort of expose some of the things that they might not tell the public. And that's why we do some of these things. Now, when you look at processes, there are strategic ones and operational ones. Printing of a booklet, I don't think that it's a very strategic work to do. So if Alan decides that he will sponsor the printing of the booklet, I don't see how strategic it would influence the results, unless, of course, you have a suspicion that he's going to change the content of it. But I don't think that's the point, because once everybody has agreed to it, he cannot print something that is not what had been agreed to and pass it on to the public, to the party. So certainly printing of a booklet is not strategic. Bawumia, offering to actually pay for the, did he say the cards? Of course, that's not strategic. But let's ask him one question. Why is it that we know when the presidential primaries is going to be held, but we don't know that of the parliamentary? Have you asked that question, or have you answered that particular question? Of course, the reasons is what Alan is actually adducing to. The idea of manipulation, the idea that a certain MP would have to be coerced to support a certain candidate because of fear of being competed against if they declare their support basis towards a certain contestant. And so the party machinery is creating a certain uncertainty in the minds of those who genuinely would believe that perhaps Alan is the right choices. And so they are whipping line in that sense. Now, what about the idea that the formation or the voting processes itself, two methods were actually outlined. One of them is to congregate everybody in one place so that, people do not feel coerced to vote in a particular direction, versus let's do it from different centers. And 9 of them actually said that we do not like the centers because people will feel coerced, because they will feel that they could easily be identified. And only one person had agreed to, that method. So they decided to boycott, or they decided not to go with the 9 people, but go with the one person. How is that not influencing the process? Now, Salam, there's a reason why in our elections we do not vote for presidential election in one day and then the parliamentary in another day. Remember, in 1992, we voted the presidential before we did of the parliamentary. NPP, led by Edu Boahen, had written the stolen verdict to discredit the process. And they had gone on to actually abstain from the parliamentary election. That made the government of the NDC at the time, former President Rawlings's regime, illegitimate. And they called it an illegitimate government, and rightly so. Since then, we have changed the process to make sure that presidential and parliamentary happens at the same time. You doing a presidential primaries before a parliamentary primaries means that you want to influence the parliamentary primaries, because, and especially the idea that they were supposed to only select 5, and there's a mechanism where those 5 could be announced to the general public without necessarily arranging them hierarchically. Yet they avoided that and came out with a certain announcement to say this was first, this was second, this was third. If that was not strategic to influence the November election, what else would you say? For me, there are so many processes that actually indicate, including the lobbying for finances, etc. He's actually saying that everybody had equal playing field. There are information, intelligence that we have gathered that certain people within the ranks of the NPP leadership had actually decided to finance in a certain order so that they can influence the minds of the superdelegate people not to vote for. And these are some of the issues. So, yes, if I were in your shoe as a party communicator, perhaps that's the same line I would hold. But to us who are observant and who are actually strategically have to inform the general public, I don't think that you are being truthful to what has actually taken place. There are so many other things that actually respond to or that actually reflect on Alan's, complaint, and they are genuine. And as Amaluba said, if indeed the party took what they call as due process very seriously, they would have actually attended to the concerns raised by Alan and had dealt with it instead of trying to brush it aside. I think that is very unfortunate, and it really dents the image of our democracy and very much dents the image of the NPP party branch.
But I mean, a few of the things you've said. So the coalition of the congregation of the delegates at one venue was what a lot of the candidates called for. The Bawumia campaign really was not in support of that. But it was a proposition by the elections committee that the candidates were all responding to. So it's not as if it was a position put forward by the Bawumia campaign, which was adopted by the elections committee. It was an elections committee or party position. And the 9 said they did not really think it was the way to go. So they petitioned the committee, and the committee or the party found no merit in it. So that should not be seen maybe as an attempt to skew it, because it didn't come from the Bawumia campaign as far as we know.
I agree. But, Salam, 2 things can happen. There could have been lobbying at the back before that proposition was put forward amongst the, the contestant. If genuinely it hadn't happened in that way, or even let's say that, yes, the party structures had proposed and they were to support or disagree with genuine concerns. Now, 9 people, majority, you're in a democracy where majority rules, 9 people had objected with a certain rational concerns. How do you then reject that and then go for the position that you have put forward but supported by one person? It doesn't actually add up. I mean, if you read the principle of sufficient reasoning, they said that there are so many reasons for things, but the one that we adopt in argument is the most compelling. That is logical to everybody else. You cannot say that the position of Baumia's camp, where they say that they're okay with whatever goes, is compelling than what the other 9 actually put forward. It doesn't add up.
Very well. That's Professor Kobi Mensah, political communication strategist, espousing his views on the happenings in the NPP in respect of Alachia Martin's withdrawal from the flagbearership race. We will take a short break. When we come back, we will progress the discussion and delve into other aspects of the same matter. This is the big issue on 97.3 Citi FM. We'll be right back with more. Yeah, welcome back to the big issue. Very big welcome to our TV viewers too. This morning we're looking at 2 key issues. One is Alachia Martin's withdrawal from the NPP flag bearer race. We're asking whether it's good riddance or it's trouble for the NPP. It's been matters, one matter after the other, about the Alan Camp complaining of many things. And indeed, in his resignation or the withdrawal from the race letter, stating his withdrawal from the race, he mentioned intimidation, intimidation of varying intensity, he says, and other things. He's citing his campaign coordinator or polling agent for the Northeast beating and all of that. That's the statement on your screen that he issued that he resigned, his resignation statement. And many things were said in that statement, some very damning. For example, the level of intimidation of varying intensity, directly and indirectly, unleashed on a significant number of delegates at various voting centers across the 16 regions is unprecedented in the history of the party. In addition, the fact that my polling agent in the Northeast region has suffered severe damage to his eyesight arising from his bold and courageous effort to ensure compliance with the rules and regulations of the conduct of the election as approved by the Elections Committee will forever remain a blot or a dark spot in the history of internal elections within the party. And he also says, in the preceding paragraph or 2 paragraphs before the one I just read, that it appeared that the whole process was strategically and tactically skewed to favor one particular aspirant. Based on all of this, he says it did not make sense remaining in the contest because it appears the outcome has already been determined. So it appears he's just arranging it to get to that desired outcome. And that desired outcome we've gathered from his camp is Dr. Bawumia, Vice President of the Republic, who won quite overwhelmingly in that superdelegates election. Number 2, we'll also look at the matter of the leaked tape, which is our second discussion. New revelations have come, new videos have come out after the hearing by the Parliamentary Ad Hoc Committee. Is it time for a full-scale inquiry, or we should just do it this way and leave it? Is the police service, at least the top hierarchy of the police service, is it in disarray, or is just a few people who are unhappy with the conduct or workings of the IGP? Is it also the case that they are not happy because the IGP appears to be doing the right thing, and that the right thing the IGP is doing is not inuring to their benefits? On that tape, we heard about the bitterness expressed about how the IGP conducted or deployed his men at the Komewu by-election. And there was a prediction that if it wasn't checked, they were going to lose the Asin North election. Asin North was lost. A lot of people praised the police service for doing the right job, arresting people who were even affiliated to the governing party, etc. People thought the IGP or the police service did a yeoman's job, and so we did not have issues in Asin North. The governing party lost, even though it wasn't their seat, but they were hoping to win it, given the situation, the issues that surrounded that particular by-election. Now, this tape has emerged, which means that, and they said that with this IGP at the helm, they cannot break the 8. These are top police officers having chat with a top politician who has now become a chief. and chiefs are not supposed to be engaging in active partisan politics, but that's what it is. Police officers, COP, the top level, apart from IGP, engaged in this communication with a political activist, former Northern Regional Chairman of the party, saying that the IGP being at the helm will not help their agenda, the party's agenda, to break the 8. And this has become a big matter. They also say that this IGP is the worst they've ever seen in the history of the police service. At least their 31 years stay in the service. This is the worst they've seen. And a whole lot of things. Parliament has been listening to them. They've been making their points known. A lot of those points, we believe, will also be made in camera. Now, new videos have emerged of giving traction to the suggestion that IGP might have known about the recording. Bugri Nabu, in those leaked videos, appeared to be telling his people in a heated argument about how they shared some monies that the IGP had given them. We do not know. Maybe details will come up. We're looking at all of this and asking whether it's time for a full-scale investigation or probe into the matter, given the new revelations we've had. My guest for the discussion, the Honorable Ebenezer Nate, former member of Parliament for Ablekuma Central, also an aspirant for the same seat. The NDC took it away from him. He wants to take it back for the NPP. Abraham Amaliba, who is Director of Conflict Resolution of the NDC, and then Professor Kobi Mensah, Political Communication Strategist. My good friend Franklin Kujo will join us in due course. So this is the discussion, really. All right, let's make some progress. Alan Chemantin's resignation. He says he will tell us about his future a bit later and all of that. But let me come to you again, Professor Kobi Mensah. Alan's popularity appears to have been dwindling, and this is where we will get to. In 2007, he made around 30% thereabout against Nanado. They were supposed to, we have that on your screen. In 2007, Alan Chemantin made 32.30% against Nana Akufo-Addo, who is now president, against his 47.96%. Because Nanado could not make 50%, there was supposed to have been a runoff. A runoff, he said it was not necessary for him to engage in, and that he would concede defeat to him. These were his words. He would concede victory to him. And so Nanado became excited and made a few points that he would be president after him and all of that. That was 32.30%. At the time, he was also described as the establishment candidate. Now, fast forward, Nanado loses the election to Professor Mills, God rest his soul. In 2010, now we have Nanado getting 77.92%. 77.92% against Alan's 20.40%. You should know where he came from. He came from the 30s, now at 20.40%. Now, fast forward. He goes to, we now go to, so 2010 was for the 2012 election. 2012 election was between Nanado and John Mahama. It was originally supposed to have been Professor Mills, but he died in July, and the NDC quickly put forward his vice as flag bearer in John Mahama. And then in a 3-4 month intensive election campaign, he beat Nanado. Nanado did not take it kindly. He went to court. The court affirmed John Mahama's victory. Now, in 2014, there was a superdelegates conference as well, where there were a number of candidates, so it had to be whittled down to 5. Now, Nanado makes 80%, 80.81%. Baumia makes 7.97%. Sorry, Alan makes 7.97%, from 20.40% to 7.97%. We're looking at the dwindling fortunes of Alan in the party. His dwindling popularity. Now, this was the 2014 Superdelegates Conference. Now, they had a proper conference itself, and not so different from what he made in the Superdelegates, but Nanado improved, making 80.81% against Alan's 0.97%. So it meant that the base, after all, was a reflection of, it was generally a reflection of the main, of the super delegates. That's what really it means. Because if in the super delegates, he made, I mean, the difference wasn't much. So that's where it ended. So Nanado goes ahead in 2016 to beat John Mahama and became president in 2017. The next election, Nanado was president, so nobody contested him. Now, this is the next time an opportunity has come itself. And Alan Kyerematen thinks it is his time. That's why his slogan or mantra was Edru Misu, which means it's my turn. Learning from Nanado, who says, Yenimu frititi, Yenimu frititi. Buying into or working into the longevity argument that the party rewards longevity. So now he says Edru Misu, because it's always been number 2. But unfortunately, in this particular one, he doesn't come out well. There was a certain Kennedy Japan, there's been a certain Kennedy Japan who has come from nowhere, and now there's Bawumia too, because Nanado cannot run again. And Bawumia comes and whips the votes and throws Alan, who has always been number 2, to number 3. Bawumia makes 68.15%, as you can see on your screen, in the Super Delegates Conference, which happened some 2-3 weeks ago. Kennedy Japan, from nowhere, first-time contender, and Bawumia to first-time contender. Kennedy now comes second, 14.30. And Alan, who many thought should be the guy we should be looking at, now makes 10.29%. Prof, the question is, Alan, from the history and the records we have just shown, okay, so this is a summary of everything. This is a summary of everything. So look at the 2014, the part 2 of it, the proper conference, the proper delegates conference, where there were over 200,000 people or so were to vote. Nanado makes 94.38%, 94.38 or 35%. Alan makes just 4.75%. Overwhelmingly popular than him, Nanado. But of course, Nanado is Nanado. He's been there, Kumi Preku, he's been there, Alliance for Change and all of that. So people knew him. Yenimu Frititi and all of that. And he had contested 2007 conference, 2008 election. He's been around, and this was his time. So that was understandable. 4.75 for Alan. Now, in 2023, he makes only 10% against new entrants. His popularity is not one anybody could argue was on the rise. It wasn't. So this outcome we have seen was inevitable, and there was no way he was going to turn this around in November. This is what people are saying, that because he knows he'll be embarrassed in November, he had to blame his defeat or his poor showing in this on some isolated incidents. Prof, talk to me about the dwindling popularity of him, of Alan, and what people think he's putting up some excuse to just opt out of the race. This is data.
Salam, you're right. This is data. And if I go back to my original principle, which Nkrumah states clearly in his conscientism book, the principle of sufficient reason, I would not fault anyone who actually would interpret the data from that perspective. But I would say that your explanation has to be compelling enough by considering, scenarios. Now, from the data that you presented, let's ask ourselves whether, and I think that the source data is actually 2007. Where we can actually make the analysis from is from 2007. By 2007, are we saying that was the first time Nanado actually had contested the presidential primaries? No, he had contested Kufuor long ago in Sunyani, which I think was 1995 or thereabout.
98.
98, exactly. Nanado had contested Kufuor then. Very popular. So by that analysis of those who say that the dwindling of Alan, let's look at that. When Nanado had contested Kufuor, and he was popular then, so the assumption is that that race between him and Alan should have been a walk in the park. If we take those who are actually arguing that, we take them from that rational perspective, then of course he was supposed to overly win that contest, yet it was a runoff. When it was a runoff, Alan had gone on to cede that space to him. Now, going forward, don't forget, the understanding had been that it is now the turn of Nana Addo. That's why Alan actually ceded that position. So on the basis of people understanding, if he hadn't clinched that presidential election with NDC...
So that's the 2007 source data.
That's correct. That's the source data. Yeah, that's the source data. Now, so if he had gone into that election and hadn't actually succeeded against NDC, he still is in the time that was referred to in 2007, that it is still his time, he had to go for another one. That's why he was given another chance. Then the question is, why did Alan contest, knowing that it is still Nana Addo's time? In political, a contest, coronation is one, but usually people would argue that it is not legitimacy. You want to see that you are hugely popular, you have contested and won. Alan, knowing that he wants to become or he wants to succeed Nana Addo, would still want to keep the base going. So he would organize, and that's the understanding as a strategist. That's how I put it. Of course, people can make their own, explanation, but I'm saying that your explanation has to be compelling enough. Now, knowing that he has that ambition to succeed Nana Addo, he would put together a system, an engine, to keep the base running. So he will contest again. Now, once he contests again, he will contest again. Surely, the basis of the people's understanding is that Nana Addo had to become president, which started from 2007. And so if you say that the numbers are actually showing that he was dwindling and so is popularity, I don't think so. I differ, because the basis had been set in 2007 that Nana Addo has to become president. Until that objective is fulfilled, you cannot see Alan trumping Nana Addo with those data. Now, the argument about him contesting currently and coming third. Now, the only moderating factor, or the mediation factor in terms of presidential leadership, is that you must contest an election before you become a president. All right? So that is one level relationship. Now, your chances of winning has to, however, be moderated by so many other factors. All right? So whether you would become the president in terms of having participated would be one, your popularity, two, resources, so many other factors. So the question is, what are the factors that actually be moderated in that relationship between him becoming the candidate in recent times? And that is the factor that he has actually put out. I mean, he's put out certain factors that determines that there's a certain machination, there's a certain mechanism, measures that had been put in place in order that I don't become. Now, if those factors were not available and we were actually allowing delegates to vote according to the so-called ideal processes, i.e., put them in one congregated area, remove those many variables that are factors that he has actually highlighted, would he have actually won, or would he have still been third? That is the question.
I see. Great. Let me come to Amaliba. Alan was not popular after all. I mean, he hadn't worked to solidify his base that Prof talks about, that he needed to get a base running. And so he kept running in the subsequent elections to 2007, though it was Nana Addo's time. And so he still lived in his time. He failed to solidify his base. So you could see that he did not make a good showing in those subsequent elections. And this time, where we had Bawumia, a new entrant, though vice president, and Kennedy Japan, a new entrant, though MP and very popular, he failed to make the mark. And so his popularity has been dwindling. I don't know whether it was a deliberate, maybe campaign against him run over the period to make him unpopular for a time like this, or he himself failed in delivering the numbers for himself. I don't know what
I don't know what numbers you are looking at, but if you look at what you projected, The last time Alan contested in a superdelegates congress or conference was in 2014. Is that it?
Yes.
And he got 7.97%. Is that it?
Yeah, 2014. Yes, they'll put it back on the screen right now.
So he got 7.97%. The next superdelegates conference was just the last one. And he got 10-point-something%. Where is it?
He got 10 points. Okay, so 10.29.
29. How is this not an improvement?
No, look at the candidate. It's not coming against Nanado. It's coming against new people. So he's the overwhelming guy.
So you don't say that his fortunes are dwindling. These are facts, mathematics. I don't know maths.
But the variables.
I don't see how 7 is bigger than 9. That's my understanding.
Okay.
Now, the circumstances. You notice that where you said his fortunes were going high, he was not contesting against a sitting vice president. And that establishment did not channel resources to back a sitting vice president. Am I making some sense there? Today, the circumstances are not the same. You find that he's contesting against a sitting vice president and resources are channeled to back the sitting vice president. In the last one that he contested, Kufuor did not support Aliu Mama. So somehow there was a level playing field. Somehow.
But Kufuor supported Alan.
Yes, but somehow it was a minister to minister. Finance, foreign affairs, trade minister. You get it? So all these things too must be factored into your analysis.
But notwithstanding that support of the establishment, the guy with the grassroots or the guy with the popularity beat him.
Who?
And so Nanado.
Yes.
He didn't have the establishment.
Yes.
The same way Alan,
Yes.
doesn't have the establishment
Yes.
today. So he could have beaten the one
so
who is having the
you
resources.
now come back to this issue of it is not your term or it's not your time in the NPP. You now come back to that.
But is it a real thing or people just say so? Is
No,
it
no.
real? Is it on the ground? Is
No,
it a real
It is. It
belief
is.
of
And
that
that is
party?
it is because that is even one of the things that is annoying and angering the Alan camp.
That it's not based on merit, it's based on longevity.
That we know our tradition to be of this nature. How come that it is my turn and things are beginning to change? And you can't say that you've not heard that. You sitting here.
Yes, but
you can't say that you've not heard that from the Alan camp.
Yeah, but should it be on merit or longevity?
That is now rationalization, and that's you are now asking me to engage in whether that policy of theirs makes sense or not. And I would say it doesn't make sense. But that's what they agreed to. And that's what has been happening. And that is what they achieved with Nana Addo. So, in doing this analysis, but you see, one other analysis is that when you put together Kennedy's numbers, 14%, and you add it to Alan, that is like 24%.
But why will you put Kennedy's numbers together?
I'm trying to tell you how Bawumia has not done well. You get it? How the establishment candidate has not performed well. I heard some of their people in the Bawumia camp saying that actually they were expecting like 70%.
And they got 68. 70 and 68, they are friends.
Oh, it's not. 2% is something.
But it's when it's close, but 2%.
Yeah. Do you
against
know how
14%.
many numbers are in 1%? When they say 1%, it's not 1. 1% is not 1. Do you know the number of numbers that make up 1%? So,
but that would have been a case if the thing was close. It wasn't close. 68%. The next person, distant second, 14%.
yeah.
So, and in the case of 2007, when Nanado ran with Alan and Co., Nanado made 47%.
You see?
And Alan, who came second, made 32%.
But
that was more respectable.
Did you realize that Nana Addo's was chalking 80% and 80-something%? Did you notice on the chart?
Yes.
That there were times Nana Addo was chalking 80%. That overwhelming support don't listen to me and say that because I'm from NPP. I'm just saying that.
Because I'm from NDC. Let's clarify that before people.
No, but let me just finish. Let me just finish. Don't say that because I'm from NDC.
Yes.
That overwhelming support.
No, it's talking.
Oh, right, that's a slip of tongue. You know, before. What am I saying?
Is that we shouldn't look? I mean, we shouldn't look at the results. What's the name? And say.
So I'm talking about, as we speak now, from the results that you have seen from their super delegates, Bawumia hasn't got overwhelming support of the people who went to cast the vote. It's not overwhelming.
68 against 14 and 10 is not overwhelming.
It's not overwhelming. Because we know of a candidate amongst them in the NPP who got 80%. Who got 82%.
But that person had a grip on the party. Bawumia doesn't have that now. He's not leader of the party. He doesn't have that now.
So you see that in any situation, you can give excuses. You are giving me an excuse for Bawumia, which is near to Bawumia. And I'm also saying that this is the first time Alan too is running against a sitting vice president. So all this.
No, he ran against a sitting vice president in 2007.
Oh, no. A sitting vice president.
That was a proper contest.
No, a sitting vice president who resources were channeled
to him.
Okay. You know, and the establishment was behind him. And so, if you are looking at the permutations and the figures, don't forget about extraneous factors which has led to those figures. And I'm saying that with the two candidates, 14% and 10%, it makes nonsense of Bawumia's popularity in the party. And you've admitted that, yes, because he doesn't have a grip of the party now. And we are talking about now, not in future.
I see. The numbers actually show that Nanado was very popular. Alan now is not the case. Bawumia is the one. Of course, it goes back to the support the establishment is giving him and all of that. Your thoughts on the figures and everything?
Yes. When we look at the figures, let me take you to 2007. The 2007's own was not a superdelegate conference. It was just like the number of people who went to vote on 26th of August. It's made up of ministers, MPs, constituency chairmen, and what have you, in Legon.
Yeah.
That was just a few. It was aftermath of what transpired in Legon. Then we came out with this superdelegate conference. So the first superdelegate conference was in 2010, which that one, President Nana Akufo-Addo and Alan Chamantin and other aspirants, and Nanado won in that election. In 2012, there was a superdelegate conference, as well as where we have all the 275 polling stations also going to cast their vote. So it tells you that the first one, the first superdelegate conference, is different from the ones that we have had so far. And just as you are saying, when you look at the analysis, Alan Chamanti keep on drizzling day in and day out in their elections. Because, look, from 2007 to 2010, from 32.3% to 20.40%, it reduced by 11.6%. Then we come to 2014, Nanado had 80.81%, and then he has 7.9%. That's representing 12.43%. You can see that looking at this, he keep on reducing his vote. The question that you need to ask ourselves, why is it that at every instance, at every election, your vote reduce? Is this something that I'm doing that is not right? Am I not getting the people as expected? Am I not getting the people to work for me? So you need to look at all these analysis and put it in right perspective and look, how do I go about it? But when you just come and say that, look, looking at the margins, Bawumia is an institutional candidate, Alan is not, and so therefore the percentage 68.something% is mean that Bawumia has failed. It tells you that even the person that you are making analysis against, just check its records from the superdelegate conference where we have just a few people. In fact, as I'm speaking with you now, looking at our election currently as we are going to have, November 4th. We are even going to have more people than we had in 2012 and 2014.
Yeah, but
because the number of polling stations...
He's more popular there with the grassroots.
If you are more popular on the ground, then why do you even withdraw from the ground?
No, because of the intimidation.
Where is the intimidation?
He's giving the instances.
So are you telling me before withdraw from the NDC flagbearership race because he was intimidated?
No, he said the processes.
Is that why he cited?
I never interjected.
Everybody cited the reason why he everybody cited.
I never interjected.
Yes. I never interjected. You listen to me. Yes. So, but Dufour, we are not discussing Dufour though. But Dufour said we are putting in context. Context challenge.
Yes.
That's fine.
So he also withdraw.
Yes, he will do.
So are you saying that
he said that the process,
even Dufour's own, he was even complaining about an album. Album that we are going to use to cast the vote. You are even manipulating and making sure that people's names are not in the register.
But
and even send it to court.
Intimidation and beating people and administrative issues of album and co.
Where is the intimidation?
Which is
That's
more
why
serious.
I've asked you a question. That honestly, from where I see, to be honest and sincere with you, Alan is a friend.
But his people were beating.
Where?
The guy with the
schooling that's why I asked you.
But it's one life, one person is not big enough.
Honorable Mr. Amaliba.
No, you listen to me. No, you listen.
Just take a punch in your eye, not the. They should remove it.
No, yes.
We'll see.
Yes.
You pa.
One is significant, you know.
I condemn whatever act that happened in Northeast. We don't need to go into that because election is just to share ideas. Election is to just go and express whoever you think that he or she can lead a party. There's no need for us to fight. That's why I condemn what happened in Northeast. But I'm saying that when you look at the analysis, the performance of Alan from 2007 till date, his performance has not been good as he himself expects. So therefore, for me, I think that if you think that your support base is at the grassroots, the people at the grassroots are calling on you, and you decided that for me, I am not going to take part in the election. One, you have totally disappointed your campaign team. You have disappointed the people who have the trust in you. You have disappointed the entire country because people believe that, just as Amaliba said, they will prefer Alan than, how do you call it, Mahmoud Bawumia. That's what he said.
No, he said Bawumia is easier to beat. Alan will be more difficult.
So he will prefer Alan than Bawumia.
It will be difficult for
right?
us. We are happy.
So in this case, you could have even voted for Alan here if Alan have won the presidential primaries.
Because Alan will be more difficult to beat from his perspective. So
not only his supporters in NPP that he has disappointed, but he has disappointed the lives of Abraham Amaliba.
I think Alan has a certain character, right? He doesn't like his people to be intimidated or beaten. If you recall, in 2008, he resigned from the party, and he cited similar reasons.
Not 2008.
The beating of Afoko.
It was 2008, August 2008, after the 2007. I mean, there are about 2007, 2008.
No, 2007 was a Legon one.
Yeah, but he resigned from the party.
But that's the same platform that he chose support for Nanado.
No, what I'm saying is, no, after that, he resigned from the party.
Yeah.
Alan resigned from the party and he came back. Okay, at least there was a letter of resignation. Yes. They argued they didn't submit it and all of that, or it was not accepted. But he resigned from the party. One of the major reasons one of the major things he's been fighting. People saying that you left and came back. Yeah. People have come before and all of that, citing reasons of intimidation and the supporters being attacked, etc. Afoko and co suffered a few things. So his point then was the same thing, and now he's citing the same thing. So it's not enough to draw a trend or build a trend or establish a trend. But I think Alan is a guy who will not want people to suffer unduly because they support him. So because he doesn't like that, he's giving it up that if you suffer because of this, I won't do it again. Nobody deserves to suffer this way. That is his pain. That is his pain.
That is what he thinks that is being done to his people.
But he has proof. The eyes and we've seen the videos. The guys, people, the people shifting is not easy.
Yes, I perfectly agree.
I think the painful part is we've not seen the party roundly condemn this. We've not seen anything like that.
The point is that there's an allegation that Alan's agent has been attacked. By who?
No, but
by who?
No, but by members of the Baumia team or the Baumia support base. Baumia support base. That's the allegation.
Are you saying that?
That's the allegation.
Are you saying that Alan contested with Baumia on the 26th of August?
No, but Baumia was
there are equally other 9 candidates who were contested.
The rivalry really was between Baumia and Alan.
How do you jump into conclusion like that?
But that's what it is.
No, how do you jump into conclusion like that? That because today, right? If it happens that I was the agent at headquarters for Baumia, and somebody come and slap me, I'll just attribute it to Alan's camp.
No, but the guy knows which people attacked him. He knows which people attacked him.
Has the person mentioned anybody's name?
But he spoke to his boss. And so his boss is basing his thing on what his guy has told him.
No.
The polling agent or the coordinator told him which people attacked him. He knows them.
And he said
and they live in the
and he said Baumia's camp.
That is what he's saying.
No, he said Baumia's camp.
That is what he's saying.
But in Alan's statement, did Alan mention Baumia's name?
No, but of course, he doesn't have to mention it. In fact, he said it was skewed against, it was skewed in favor of one candidate. So he didn't mention the candidate.
Exactly. So how do you also jump to the conclusion that it's Baumia's camp?
We know by inference what he is talking about.
Oh, no. Surely, you cannot think for Alan.
Surely it was not skewed, allegedly, for Kennedy Japan. Surely not.
Who says so? If
that the whole system is behind Kennedy Japan.
If from what you are saying and from Alan's statement, and he's saying that it was skewed against one candidate.
Yes.
He didn't mention a candidate.
Yeah, but that candidate we know obviously wasn't Joe.
Why do you have to think for Alan?
No, it's analysis. We are drawing inference.
So are you saying that the NDC in their presidential primary skewed for
NDC?
Oh no, but the guy
we are talking about your party.
Oh no, before the
it's diversionary. Stay at where you are.
You are right.
It's diversionary.
But before they didn't allege.
You will not stop me from. You will not tell me what I should say.
That's what I'm saying.
You will not tell me what I should say.
You
I allow you to talk.
You
so you will not tell me what I should say.
I'm saying that you focus on me.
I'm just giving you an example.
Yes. So focus on me.
When the NDC were going for their presidential primaries, what did they do to people? Are you saying that they scheme it in favor of Don Mahama?
But if that was done,
that's the reason why Dufour said I've withdrawn from it.
But did Dufour say so?
Yes.
He said it was.
He even went to court to challenge the album.
No, but the album also equally affected John Mahama.
In what way?
No, but the album,
in what way?
No, the album also affected him.
The album was done in favor of Don Mahama. If what you are saying, the album was done in favor of Don Mahama.
But fine, we've scaled.
Yesterday you were saying, then you were talking about a committee. That a committee has been formed and nothing has happened. Does it mean that if a committee go for a committee meeting today and whatever is being discussed, they'll come and throw it in the public domain? Is that what you are saying?
But I think the point really
so if the committee has not come to a conclusion of their report, getting the facts and figures of the issue, they will just come. Today we met this person and he said A, B, C, and D. So this is it. Without getting to the root of the matter, without getting to the substance of the issue, without knowing the fact of it. Then you just jump into conclusion with it and say that, oh, it's war.
But 3 weeks, it's 3 weeks.
You said there's a meeting. Then do you know yesterday evening, there was a meeting at John Mahama's house when they are imposing Julius Debra on him.
No, but that one is...
I'm giving you also examples. So if you come and sit and come and give examples, I'll give examples.
No, but this one is...
I'm giving you examples.
You see? Yeah, but this one is...
So you cannot just come and say
this one is not competitive.
There's a saying that...
It's a candidate that will choose the running mate.
So how do you jump to how do you come and say that there's a meeting at Kufuor's house and that Donado banged the table on
if somebody
what are you talking about?
If somebody passes bad air and you want to retaliate, you do the real thing. That's why he's doing. That's why he's doing. You do the real thing.
No, I'm just telling you what
all
also transpired today.
They're all over the place. They're talking about something. They're all over the place. See,
I'm also giving you example of what has transpired at John Mahama's house yesterday. Just as you know what transpired at the first house yesterday.
No, but that's
also part of the topic today.
Oh no, you see,
it's also part of the topic today.
No, I don't know about the Mahama meeting, but
you know about.
I don't know about that. I told him I didn't know.
Exactly.
I told him.
So I'm also giving you information that you don't know.
Yes, but I'm saying that the two are different.
This matter.
This is a competitive election. Issues have arisen from this. The choice of running mate, people lobby. It's not a competitive process. It's not a competitive process that a candidate must contest with somebody and all of vote and no. It's a choice of the candidate. when he makes the choice, he puts it before a certain
it's
council.
the choice of the candidate, but you are going to contest on the ticket of the party.
No, this one, it's I don't even know how to say it. The party.
Fine. So
okay,
let's come back. Let's
yes.
come back to the issue. When you look at the analysis, as I said,
We are now coming back to the issue.
Just check from 2007 to date. The percentage in which Alan always dropped. And I'm giving you an example that, look, even in some cases, it is not only the special voting, but rather the larger delegates, the 200,000 plus delegates, his votes always keep on reducing. The last one that you're talking about Nanado had 94.35%, was not the special voting, but was for the larger elections, which was done in every constituency. And Nanado had 95.3%, and Alan have 4.75%. So you just ask yourself, how come that in every election that is being conducted by the party, I have this kind of percentage? You said in 2007, 2008, Alan said it was scheme against him. Am I right?
No. He said his people were being intimidated and
who was in the aim of affairs at that time? Who was the general secretary for the party at that time?
Ohininto.
Is Ohininto not the spokesperson for Alan?
Yes, so what's the connection?
So where is the scheme there?
No, he didn't say the party. He said members of the Nanado team or supporters were beating.
On one breath, you are saying that. On one breath, you are saying that.
But that's what he's saying.
On one, you're fine. On one breath, you are saying that it is government machinery. Government is scheming.
I'm shocked that rather than sound and reconciliation.
No, I'll come to you. Yes, so go ahead.
On one breath, they say the party. On the other breath, they say government. And I'm giving you an example that if you are saying in 2007, 2008, Alan quits the party, which for me, I've not seen any letter that Alan have written that he has resigned from the party.
No,
and even with this one, he never even said that he has followed the party.
This is a known fact. No, he's not. This one I said he's withdrawing from the race.
It's just a hearsay.
Really? No, it wasn't.
Have you seen any letter of that since 2007 to
Of course, at the time we saw it.
Oh, my brother.
No, I'm serious.
You saw the letter?
Of course. No, it was all over the place.
No, the best thing you could have done today to help us
is to bring that
letter.
No, because it's
compare with this.
It's so much of a notorious fact that I did not need to do that.
He has. For me, I have heard people question him about that, whereby he have denied that he has never resigned from the party. So if we have a copy of the letter, it will help all of us.
I see, but it's a notorious fact. We'll put that out sometime.
I'll be very grateful.
Okay, we'll put that out.
I'm surprised maybe by then he hadn't joined MPP, so he doesn't know. This is a notorious
Maybe
fact.
he was MP.
A notorious But you see, I thought that he would sound reconciliatory, knowing that they are both from the same party.
You will not tell me what I should
Now, he sits here.
No, you will not tell me what I should say.
Talk in ways that goes to deepen the cracks in the party.
In my submission, I said I condemn what really happened in Northeast, and that I will be very grateful that we'll point out to the people who did what they are supposed, what they did which is wrong, and the people should be dealt with according to the law. And honestly, if we go for an election, or we are having an election, and you slap me, it is not about party issue, it's a criminal issue, and therefore the police need to be dealt with. The best thing that the person needs to do is to go and report the person to the police. It's an assault. And then at the end of the day, you're being dealt with. But if you make it a party issue, what will be the end result of it? For me, I think that Alan has made his mind, come out with a statement. Whatever he thinks that he will say, he has said it. In a statement, he said, in the coming weeks, he's going to let us know his stand in politics in Ghana. I have heard some leading members of his campaign. I have heard Sylvester Tete. I have heard, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, OPK. He made a statement on Citi.
On Citi, a point of view.
Yes. These are people who were championing the cost of Alan in his campaign. And these people have come and said, look, I'm with you. We are going to Citi. You say you won't go again. You rather prefer to go to this side and rest. Doesn't mean that I have to follow you to where you are going. But whatever decision that he will take, he will believe that it will be in the interest of the party. Which, for me, I think that is an applaud. I've heard most of the leading people who were leading his campaign in all the regions. I've heard their comment that, yes, it is our wish that our candidates will run for this election. But he says, because of A, B, C, and D, I will not be able to run again.
Very well.
What about in the coming week if Alan comes and says, look, I've shown my support to this person. I am fully taking part in this election to ensure that the NPP win 2024 elections. It can also be said so.
Very well. Let's take some of your messages. Desmond Frimpong says, Alan is Dada Battery Mude. Imagine Alan leading the NPP in the general election and NDC bullying NPP. Will he resign as a flag bearer? Hashtag the big issue. You can also send your messages with the hashtag the big issue, and we will read them out to the rest of the world. Niyemu says Alan failed to solidify his position in the party for 16 years. Alan can be likened to Spiogabra, fine gentleman but lost touch with the kingmakers in their respective parties. That's an interesting one. I'll take a short break. When I return, we'll look at what is up next for Alan. What must he do? People think that he will run as independent, but really, can he? Can he establish his own party? What will he do? We will ask our panelists to tell us what they think. Don't go away. You're welcome back to the big issue. Your comments are welcome live on the show. You can tweet at me, or you can tweet with the hashtag the big issue, and we'll read them out to the rest of the world. You can also join us with WhatsApp comments with the number on the screen, 0204447033, and we'll be happy to share it with the rest of the world. It's your platform for incisive analysis and riveting conversation. We're happy to hear from you. Now, let's look at the future of Alan Kyerematen in wrapping up this segment. Alan Kyerematen has said in the statement he issued, in the closing paragraphs of the statement he issued, he says that in light of the foregoing, I wish to confirm that I'm honorably withdrawing from the process that will lead to the presidential primaries to be held on 4th November 2023. This is where it is. In the next coming weeks, I will provide an indication of the role I will play in politics in Ghana after consultations with my family and other well-wishers, various stakeholders and interest groups. That's what Alan has said. The question you're asking is, what does the future hold? Prof, what does the future hold? Will he gain traction if he is to run as independent? Does he have the capacity to run as an independent candidate or form his own political party? And to what end? Will he make any significant inroads if he's to do same? Or you think he should just throw his weight behind any of the candidates? Or, I mean, what should he be saying? He said in the next coming weeks. Of course, we don't know what he will say yet. He might have had something in his mind. But when we go into his mind, what do you think he's likely to do, Prof? Hello, Prof? Prof Kobe Mensah. All right, so I'm not sure Prof is on. We'll work. Oh, okay, Prof.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, sure. So let's hear you.
Okay. Well, I think that his actually chances depends largely on going forward, the kind of actions he takes and the strategies he put forward. Now, let's analyze the scenarios in terms of evaluating which one could be the best. Obviously, political parties from our constitution are the conduit, for participation. Obviously, parties might have or should have, ideology with which they can attract people. So people join political parties. And remember, political party participation or political participation are in different forms. Either you are voting, or you are an activist, or you are a party leadership, serving as a flag bearer, etc. Now, for those who actually join political parties, as members of political parties and as activists, they're actually attracted by, one, the first and foremost is the ideology, because leadership change, and although leaders would have to reflect on the ideology of the political parties, they come with their own, differences as well. So you would see that the NADO's leadership of NPP is different from Kufuor's leadership of NPP. Again, Kufuor's from Edubois, for example. So there are tweaks, although broadly speaking, they all assign to, or they all, connect to a certain ideology that we say center-right in our political parlance. And so the political parties will come with its ideology, but of course, its, traditions over the years, its track record, and again, the personalities in the political party, all right? So not only him, Alan, but there must be other people in the political party. Now, would these factors be a constraint or an advantage in drawing people, i.e., especially from the NPP stock, because he's coming from the NPP, and there's an understanding that perhaps he would draw people from NPP. Now, if he's drawing the people, would the people be attracted by these things that I've talked about? That is a consideration that you have to take. Now, if he's going independent, again, there's a certain perspective that voters have in terms of critical mass of people in a certain unit that would actually persuade them to think, given power, you will be able to execute what you say you would do. But of course, you may not have the constraint of people having diverse interest and diverse perspective on how things must be done. So perhaps as an independent, you can attract everybody else, technocrats, etc. And so you wouldn't have the baggage of political parties, or that the political parties have, where you have to negotiate, your way out for people to agree with you before, you actually prosecute a certain strategy or a certain program. So, the way forward obviously is clear for participation. One, you become an independent candidate. Two, you form a political party. Or three, you throw your weight behind someone, or you sit aloof, so to speak. So let's say four. But each of these have advantages and disadvantages. So I think that going forward, he would, as he said, would have to sit and have a very thoughtful processes and see which way is the best way for him. None of us will be able to tell, of course, but we could see the advantages and the disadvantages. Whether he stands a chance, let's again go back to history. I mean, Nkrumah is the most, paramount example that you could almost, prominent example that you can cite. He left UGCC and, of course, formed his own party. We know the results, of course, for both parties, for UGCC and for CPP. Now, we cannot perhaps argue that the strength of Nkrumah is parallel to that of Alan Shermanton.
And the circumstances are different, are they not? This man has lost an election, didn't do well in an election. Nkrumah did not face an election at the time he moved away from the UGCC.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's what I'm saying. Time and space, obviously, the dynamics of it and the political system. So you could actually play all those factors in it and see how it turns out. Now, let's use the recent happenings as an example, because going back then it isn't too far. If we look at our fourth Republican Constitution era, let's take the personalities and the political parties. If you take, for example, Kwesindum on CPP, which CPP is an existing structure, all right? Kwesindum, at the time, people had the expectation that he can impact the duopoly that we had, because he wielded quite a huge personality, but from business. Now, the transitioning from business into political leadership in the voters' mind is completely different. People might, see you as a very good leader, but when you are actually transferred from that, space onto a political space, it would give them different perspectives. And another example was whether our what do you call darling forgotten the UN Secretary General Kofi Annan, for example, could become could possibly be voted into power. And when the survey was done, I remember it was about 34% or so people were actually giving. So voters thinking of who is fit for a certain leadership, differ. So if you look at Kwesindum then, and the idea that he couldn't actually make the kind of impact that we thought he could, on CPP tickets, that could be completely different scenario. And as we said, the dynamics of the time was different from now. Now, when Kwesindum formed his party, which is a PPP, again, the impact was negligible. Now, we saw Abu Sakara, fantastic candidate. We didn't have, and I don't think Ghanaian voters had enough impression about him before he became the candidate for CPP. But when he was running, the campaign, of course, campaign has effect. The campaign really molded him. People saw that indeed he was a formidable candidate. But of course, they gave their votes to somebody else because perhaps they didn't think that the CPP had the critical mass of leadership that could be entrusted with the leadership of the country. So that didn't actually make any impact. Now, let's look at Alan and now. I have argued that our political system now has dramatically changed from those days because you hear quite a lot of people talk about the third force. Now, I'm sure that, Salam, on your shows, people have said that number of times. On the street, people are talking about that. Now, on social media spaces, on Twitter spaces, I have actually heard quite a number of Twitter spaces that people are talking about a third force. People have seen what has happened, in Nigeria and are drawing examples, for that. Of course, people are also aware of what is transpiring within the NPP, and then of course with Alan Chemanten. Could it be possible that people would think that he's the best fit to perhaps provide that particular third force? We had done a survey. We did about 3 surveys. One, we polled NPP delegates, and as I said, the top of the pile were always gearing towards the vice president. Bottom of the pile were gearing towards Alan Chemanten, which you have actually said on your show. We polled NDC delegates during their elections whether who they thought was competitive against NDC or against John Mahama. A lot of people tipped Alan Chemanten. And then we did a national poll, which we featured it on Daily Graphic for people to scan and also answer. And overwhelming number actually tipped Alan Chemanten as the most competitive against John Mahama, for example. Now, given these scenarios that I've talked about, again, with a huge social media presence, and it's important because in the past, channels like yours, traditional media houses, would have to invite someone to contribute to national discourse in terms of, coming into studio, etc. These days, people can sit in their rooms, post something on social media, it goes viral. People can influence the political process unofficially. And then, of course, from so many other sources. So, as you said, the dynamics of the time makes it interesting to actually think whether he could make a huge impact, in the coming elections. Now, I would not be able to say that he can win, but can he really impact the system? Perhaps yes, perhaps no, with the examples that I've given.
I see. All right, grateful for your time. Honorable Maliba, what does he do from here? I mean, what's your thinking? Independent candidate, does he have the capacity, form a political party, throw his support behind somebody, or wait, whoever wins, he supports that person, or he just goes into political hibernation?
I told them my colleague here would have been a little conciliatory in his discussions. But it appears he's digging the hole and digging and going further. I think your submissions here today will not make the Bawumia campaign any better. At this point, you are supposed to extend a hand to Alan. But to say that What is the evidence that it is Bawumia's people who beat the man and damage his eye? The people live with each other. They know who is Bawumia, who is Bawumia's agent. They know. So if they attack him, he knows who attacked him. And so this, your submission, do not help the situation at all. But the man says that he will come in a few days. Since you are asking us to look into the crystal ball, but it's difficult. What I know is that this Fourth Republic has never been kind to breakaway parties. That is a fact. This Fourth Republic has never been kind. In our own party, we had a reform.
DFP.
We had the DFP. We had
NDP.
the Obeda Samoa.
DFP is Obeda Samoa. NDP is
Nana
NDP.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. So this Fourth Republic does not give room for the flourishing of breakaway parties. But what I know it does is that it hurts the party from which you broke away. That I know. A breakaway party may not perform well, but a breakaway party would hurt the party from where it is being broken away from. That I know. So whatever he does to himself, whether independent, whether forming a political party, or sitting aloof, it will still hurt the NPP. That is clear. Because he has a strong support base amongst the Ashanti region voters. You can't take that away from him.
Will you be surprised if he comes to say, well, he will support anybody who emerges?
What I know now, as we speak, is that he won't support Bawumia. Maybe in the coming days. Because that long letter you read, invariably, is pointing hands at Bawumia that it's because of you I'm leaving. That long letter. It's not talking about Kenya. It's not talking about my senior Joe Gatti. It's not talking about him. So in the coming days, unless he heals, it will be difficult for him to come out and throw. And he also thinks that Bawumia is a usurper.
How so?
How so is because of this tradition that Yenimu Frititi. It is my time. And clearly you heard Komna Japan make that point. That the vice president is a stranger to the NPP. Only came in to take advantage. Indeed, the doctor in Tech, UST, the political scientist, my good friend, Amakuba, said that Vice President Bawumia should just thank his stars that he has even occupied that office under the NPP. You heard all these things. So it is clear that things are not looking good in the camp of the NPP now, troubling times. But what he comes out to communicate to us, Alan, will be what we are waiting for. And that can hurt the NPP if what he comes to communicate to us is not to say that I am supporting the NPP. Any of the three I mentioned would hurt the NPP.
I see. Very well. You have the last word on this.
Yes.
You are in there. What are you picking up? Is Alan breaking away? Is he going to keep quiet, aloof? What is he going to do? What is his future?
Let me say this. In my earlier submission, I condemned what happened on 26th of August 2023 in Northeast. That in as much as you don't agree with somebody, you don't belong to the same camp. That don't mean that you need to fight over issues that you think can be resolved. So if Amaliba will try to make propaganda out of it, it's not going to wash. Alan's decision. In fact, I cannot sit here and tell you what he has planned to say or tell Ghanaians in the coming week. But for me, if Alan is going to make any statement or talk to Ghanaians, there's only one thing that he's going to say. that is fully blooded NPP person, he will ensure that the NPP break the 8 come 7 December 2024. I am not seeing Alan forming a political party. I am not seeing Alan...
Why? Because he doesn't have the capacity to do so?
It's not about having the capacity or not. When you are talking about the people who have made NPP what it is today, Alan is part of it. And I don't think Alan will see his party that he has toiled for, that he has worked for. When we won power in 2000, he was made a deputy Ghana High Commissioner to US before he was brought to become a deputy, Minister for Trade.
No, I think he was ambassador proper.
Is he ambassador?
He was ambassador. He was ambassador proper. Yeah.
Yes, and then he became a trade minister.
Trade minister. Yeah.
And I can tell you, he has been the longest serving trade minister in our country. Both Kufuor's administration and Nanado's administration.
Yeah.
This is somebody who is part and parcel of the party. And I don't think Alan have any bad intention for this party. When we talk about capacity, yes, he have the capacity, he might have the resource, he can decide to form his own party. But just as Prof and then Abraham said, yes, breaking away from a political party, yes, it might affect. Honestly, if Alan decided to form his own party or go independent, it is not all the people who followed him that will follow him to the party. But even if one person followed him, it will also go against the party. But when he forms his own party, Obed was not satisfied with what was going on in NDC. Even the founder's wife, the one who founded NDC, the wife, was not happy. She formed her own party. Guzitano formed his own party.
All these parties didn't do any much.
Today, as I'm speaking with, even Yisi is planning even to clear some of these parties from the other register. So, honestly, it will be extremely difficult for him to say that I'm going to form my own party or go independent.
Very well.
As I'm saying, I don't see Alan taking this decision, either to go independent or, forming his own party. But what I know in the coming days, and I believe he will say, is that for the sake of the party and for us to come together united and fight and win the 2024 election, I'm either throwing my support for this person or this person. Or I'm waiting till on the 4th of November. Whoever emerged as a winner, I'll rally behind the person so that we win the 2024 election. That is what I believe in Alan will come and tell Ghanaians.
Very well. Thanks so much. A few of your messages that have come through. This one from Prince Henry in Koforidua says, good morning, Salom. The fact is, Nana Akufo-Addo and the NPP government machinery have made the NPP autocratic one just to aid Dr. Bawumia into the 2024 elections. What happened to the UP in the 70s will repeat itself to Nanado's party, Nana People Party, that's NPP you say, in 2024 and beyond. You say, God bless Allah in the future is pregnant. Jackson in Ziope in the Volta region says, when crocodiles eat their own egg, what would they not do to the flesh of a frog? The future is dark, very dark if NPP still remains in power. This one from Ncho Dayel Jacob from Kologo says, hey, Abraham Amaliba, my brother, you said you saw a video that women were hooting at Bawumia at Ashanti region. If people from Ashanti region will hoot at Bawumia, who is their party member, know that they will hoot at JM the more, except that those who were hooting at Bawumia were NDC people. The NDC should not take Alan's withdrawal as something that will inure to their benefit. I know very well that that there's going to be two Northerners on the ticket of the two bigger parties. So I believe the Ashantis will want a Northerner in their camp than someone outside. Well, that's an interesting one. Patrick Bressy says, hi, Salom. To me, this so-called presidential ambition of Kennedy Japan is a hoax. He was only planted to run for presidency by the Bawumia camp, ostensibly with the strategy to split the Alan's votes to pave way for Dr. Bawumia to sail through their primary successfully. Ask yourself, how long had Kennedy Japan harbored the ambition to run for the presidency? How had he conducted himself in that manner to promote his presidential ambition? What objectively is his social and moral perception among Ghanaian electorate. This so-called Kennedy Japan presidential ambition and its expected showdown with President Akufo-Addo is all staged. It's not honest. It's all strategic orchestration to project and promote Dr. Bawumia in the long run. Looking at the quality of persons and options the NPP has, it beats every imagination that NPP would choose a personality like Kennedy Japan as their flag bearer. That's Patrick Bressey. Good morning, Selom, and to your able guests in the studio. What if Bawumia makes Alan his running mate? Boga Ali Hashim says. From Zalex Dwayne in London says, withdrawal of Alan will affect the party. Simple. All right, so thanks so much. We will move to the next discussion, which looks at the IGP and the leaked tape and the matters that have arisen in the course of the week. Thanks so much, Prof, for joining us with your insightful comments as always. We will take a short break, return, refresh the panel, and we'll have Emmanuel Kuting, security analyst, join Abraham Maliba and Honorable Na in the studio to do that analysis. This is a big issue. Your comments are still welcome via 02044470033. And also, you can tweet at us with the hashtag The Big Issue, and we'll be happy to share your comments with the rest of the world. Don't go away. We'll be right back. All right, you're welcome back to The Big Issue. We're looking at the IGP and the leak tape matter. Now there are other leaks, videos, and all of that. Bugri Nabu at the center of it all. So in the week, we saw an interdiction letter from the police service directed at COP George Mensah and Superintendent Asari and Superintendent JB. They were to face a disciplinary committee. A few hours later, there was another letter suspending the interdiction. Many have said a lot of things about that. The U-10 is a call from above, order from above. We do not know. Now, I want to look at that tape and all that has been happening in the week. But in the meantime, we'll share a report with you which brings together some of the issues.
The interdiction brings a new twist to the probe into the leaked audio tape that has become subject of a parliamentary probe. So far, 4 persons, Chief Bugri Nabu, COP Alex Mensah, Superintendent George Asari, and Superintendent Emmanuel Jebi, have faced the committee. Chief Bugri Nabu appeared first before the committee and admitted the contents of the tape and fingered the other persons who have since been hauled before the committee. Amongst the issues that were discussed in the tape were an alleged plot to remove the Inspector General of Police in a seeming plot to manipulate the 2024 general elections. But the 3 other police officers appearing before the committee, particularly COP Alex Mensah and Superintendent George Asari, accepted mainly portions of the tape relating to the removal of the IGP and described the parts on the plot to influence the 2024 election as doctored. Following their testimonies, not only did they accuse the IGP of incompetence, they accused him of masterminding the recording of the audio, doctoring same, and causing its leakage. Subsequent to that, the committee adjourned the sitting synodi after a new tape was uncovered. But even before the committee comes up with the next phase of the probe, as the police officers have requested for in-camera sittings for national security reasons, the Ghana Police Service has initiated disciplinary hearings against them. In a statement by the police, the 3 officers, according to the Ghana Police Service, have been interdicted ahead of the disciplinary proceedings. In a letter directed to COP Alex Mensah, cited by Citi News, the senior police officer has been asked to hand over his weapon, uniforms, and command vehicles. Reacting to the interdiction, security analyst Festus Abuaje says influential political figures may be backing this plot to remove the IGP.
I see what the French call déjà vu Charlotte or say. What is happening suggests to me that there is a bigger plot beyond even these commissioners to remove the IGP. Therefore, all the petitions that you and I are hearing about by 8 commissioners, by whoever, government officials and so on, that is not the terms of reference for the parliamentary committee.
Meanwhile, the national chairman of the NDC says the probe reflects how bad the Ghana Police Service has been politicized.
If you watch the proceedings from the parliamentary committee investigating the leak tape, and you are a true Ghanaian, you weep for the Ghana Police Service.
All right, so that's a short report put together the events of the last week, interdiction and suspension and all of that, and quite a very direct view expressed in that video by the Venerable Colonel Festus Abuaji. And of course, the NDC chairman also has shared a few thoughts on that. Franklin Kujo, president of Imani, is on this panel. Emmanuel Kutin, security analyst, on this panel. Ebenezer Nina Nate, former MP, Ablekuma Central, also on the panel. And then Abraham Amaliba, director, conflict resolution of the NDC, also on the panel. This is a matter of conflict resolution, really. And we will draw on the expertise of Abraham Amaliba on this one. All right, so interesting things have happened. Just let's zoom into it straight. Let me start with you, Franklin. Franklin, welcome to the show. But this has been happening. I know normally you have a phrase, musical chairs and things you use. But I don't know what you make of all of this. I mean, interdiction, suspension of interdiction, emergence of some new videos, etc., involving Bugri Nabu and all of that. Bugri Nabu appearing to be very powerful in the system. I don't know if it is implied or assumed importance or real importance, but it appears to be part of a lot of moving parts. Do you think that, as Kenneth Festus Abuaji said, there is a bigger plot to take off the IGP? Just directly, I mean, the direct question to you.
Well, you know, in the rule book of my good friend Ronaldo, if anybody comes up complaining and conjuring all kinds of, should I say, tricks, eventually somebody then writes a petition. He just acts like a conveyor belt and then removes the person. I mean, you know, Charlotte Dessay was autocratically not demoted, actually removed, uprooted really from his position, from her position. And of course, Domelevo is the recent, I mean, Domelevo was actually fought tooth and nail. And so we've seen that. So look, what is happening initially, obviously, I thought it was a waste of everybody's time because the two men involved, probably the three men involved, have confessed to be having their voice on the tape, and then some of the things that were attributed to them, they said yes. For me, the committee's work ended there and then, finished. I don't know why the committee chairman is entertaining storytelling, and then all of a sudden we are into some circles, all kinds of what I call comedy of errors. And then we are being invited to start looking at the police administration proper. Dampare is a bad leader. Dampare has promised people contracts from the same mouths of persons who have been treacherously found out to kick out the IGP, to take out the IGP. And even if it is suggested as the IGP that is behind the taping of these persons, question I have is, I mean, those persons making those allegations themselves, don't they reason? Isn't it counterintuitive that this man that you claim probably is behind the recording of your own voices must have also conducted and directed your mouths to be saying those dastardly things that you were caught on tape saying? I mean, isn't this really a grand comedy that we are watching? And now the committee itself is going ahead to say, okay, the way things are going, in fact, things are coming out. We'll probably invite the IGP. Cut it. Mr. Tachia, please, just stop entertaining this whole charade. Your mandate ends where you wanted to find out the reasons, what's it called, the voices on the tape, the authenticity of the tape, the commentary that were made, ascribed to these persons. About 80% of your work is done. what is this? I mean, these persons are peeved. And so they'll be saying all kinds of things. And you're allowing them to go on and on and on and on and on. And then say, oh, even yesterday, some soldiers, sorry, he was against, he said soldiers don't like him. Hello, I'm not sure even I mean, even your own household, and this person's their own household. I don't think everybody likes them anyway. There are people who would never like your leadership one way or the other. Look, what is happening is just dragging the police administration into the mud, make it look as though Dampare is a very ineffective, probably vindictive, and a dangerous person who has ever ascended the police to. It is sad, and my sadness is actually drawn from one of the questions that the COP Mensa was asked. Well, you claim that you nurse feelings for the position since 2017. Yes. But do you realize that it is not just based on your longevity in the service, but it's also based on probably appropriate behavior and then maybe your qualifications? And let's put the two gentlemen to strict proof. I mean, clearly, if you are comparing, one is obviously not noisy. He's actually has a doctorate. He's done all kinds of things. I think taking legal courses as well. What is this penchant for running persons down simply because you are is it covetousness? You've coveted so much the position, you become so evil-minded and you are so full of hate. And then, for me, I don't like saying people can hate or whatever, but clearly this is hatred. And this is, Solomon, I think the committee chairman is allowing this, and I agree with Festus. The longer this cantata goes on, it allows someone sitting somewhere, and probably it's part of the design. And he does say deja vu. It's true. You've already seen. That's why I agreed with him, because we've already seen similar scenarios where people will be making certain commentaries. Oh, Charlotte is this. Even allows some commission people are fighting her. And because of that, immediately someone writes a petition and then the president carries it. One of those dastardly acts that the president took, which unfortunately reduced his stature as a Democrat. I think that was one of those low moments that my good friend the president took. And ever since then, it's been that type of modus operandi. Some people complain, if you are powerful and you're fighting, they probably take you through the courts. If they don't get their way, they'll find a way of taking you out. It's just unfair, it's unconscionable, and I don't think we should be allowing these things to happen to us in this time. IGP Dampare is on this is in the line of fire by persons who have clearly shown that they do not mean well for him, not mean well for the service and for the country. Hello, Salo, what are we talking here? People are plotting to say that this man, because he acted so well in Nassim, he is going to be dangerous for us. Do you realize the gravity of what we are discussing? And all of a sudden, we are infusing this with all kinds of telltales. Bugri Nabu was promised 40, whatever, boots. Bugri Nabu, whether Bugri Nabu is powerful or not, look, there are political lobbyists in fact, I doff my hat out to Bugri Nabu, whatever. And don't you also realize that these men would have sung these same songs had it been even a low-profile person from the party, so from anywhere? They wouldn't know that they were being taped. So to come and tell us that this man is behind the tape, it means in fact, the man, what's it called? He even suggests that his intelligence, I think one of those men, I've forgotten his name, before the committee, says that, oh, my intelligence tells me that the IG is behind. Your intelligence is weak, poor.
That's COP Mensa. And Asari also said a similar thing.
The intelligence is WAP for reasons why they should never be IGP. If your intelligence tells you that this man is behind the tape, that's really funny, because what it actually means is that the IGP is quite intelligent anyway, because he knows that there are people who may be dangerous and plotting stuff and all of that. Whatever it is, the IGP
said they were entrapped. Entrapment.
What is entrapped? You sit there, Salam, I come to you, I've coveted a particular position so much so that you come and see me and I say, oh, you know, this man, if you don't remove him, your next election, you lose. Is that entrapment? And I'm saying we should be invited to look at the authenticity of the tape, the comments made there, and leave those matters as they are. As long as this committee continues. In any case, the committee says whatever they say there is not punitive. And because of that element of what's it called? Element
Immunity.
of
Immunity.
people
Yes,
are making
before
people
the
are making
committee.
they are going ahead to make all kinds of funny comments, and then we are now being told some of it will be held in camera because these persons all of a sudden have assumed some level of importance that they should now be invited into some in camera. Mr. Tachia, you are conducting a grand comedy of errors. Stop the committee hearings and let nobody forget. Don't grant these persons, treacherous persons who want to destabilize the peace of this country, any more what's it called assembly. I think it is wrong, and we should stop it immediately. Thank you.
Very well, Abraham Maliba. Very important situation, important in the sense of national security and all of that. They seem to suggest that IGP Dampari is dividing the police service. He has his own boys, they call the Dampari boys, who do not respect anything and a whole lot. And the fact that, you know, he's denigrating the image of the police service. They say he's a worst leader they've seen in the last 31 years. I mean, COP Mensa, for example, is in the service. What really is your view? New videos have started emerging. Is it about time we expanded the scope of this committee to look at the other matters of management, etc., of the police service, or a commission of inquiry be set up to deal with the matters holistically? Or you think what we've heard is just enough?
Salom, since I became politically aware of my environment, there hasn't been a time when policemen have not complained about their IGP. Since the days of Namfuri. Since the days of Namfuri, I've met policemen who have complained about their IGP. Through to Patrick Achampo. There was Nana Nsia. So it's not new. The IGP is not only for the police, it's also for the people of this country. And what is the verdict of the people of this country on this current IGP? You know it, I know it, that he's doing well. There's a committee set up, and I agree with both Festus Abuaji and Colonel, and then my good friend Franklin, that your terms of reference have been provided. Authenticate and also ensure it's a fact-finding committee. So you authenticate the video, the audio, and ascertain whether the voices belong to those people.
And recommendations.
And then you can recommend. Look, let me tell you something. Let's go back. This whole thing started from the Asen North elections.
But they said the video was recorded before, after.
Yeah, I know.
After
I'm saying that it's the Asen North elections that resulted into all these matters. I know how the government pumped money just to take away that seat. I know the machinations. I know how the government felt peeved at losing that elections. And so the video was made, the audio was made, preempting that if they don't remove the IGP, they will lose the elections. So it tells you how the government took the Asen North elections so dear to their heart that they pumped a lot of resources into it. Now we saw what happened in Asen North. We saw that just like Kumewu, and they are not even talking about Kumewu because they won there. Just like Kumewu, the IGP was personally on the grounds and deployed men. And we saw for the first time after Awuni, where he arrested some NDC officials some time ago, we saw an IGP who ensured that boys who belong to the ruling government were arrested for wrongdoing. This didn't go down well with the NPP. Now, whoever released that tape or licked it up has done this country a great deal of help.
Really?
Because you had criminals, you are calling them policemen, you had criminals conspiring to subvert this constitution. You heard them.
But, Honorable, I mean, criminal is strong, and especially as no court has pronounced them as such. I mean,
criminal-minded people who are criminal-minded.
Okay.
And they made it abundantly clear that if this IGP continues to be in office, the NPP will not break the 8. They were brought to the committee. They authenticated those portions. These other issues that Dampare is autocratic. Is Akufo not autocratic? Is he not autocratic? The president of the country, is he not autocratic? So this tangential matter of Dampare, being the one who is not managing the police well because he has created boys called Dampare boys. Aren't those people working for the state? Are they not working for the state?
So they are not
if you come to a system,
people anyhow,
when you come and then he arrested a soldier man. So I expected them to say that they arrested an army officer who did nothing. Then I can be with them. I heard they said he arrested one NPP official. I expect them to say that they arrested an NPP official who did nothing. Then I can be on their side. Didn't they arrest Sosu? Didn't they arrest Sosu? So you have policemen who were caught on tape because they themselves have said that those are their voices and they agreed to it, conspiring to, attack our democracy. And we are still treating them with kid glove, allowing them to sit on national television and be showing their anger at a system that they feel didn't treat them well. Look at the way the man is speaking. Somebody was even saying that the COP. Somebody was saying that we need to test whether his mental IQ is okay. What kind of anger is it that because you belong to a political party, automatically you should have made the IGP? What kind of reasoning is that? What thinking is that? I met a senior police officer who told me that their conduct at the committee is a disgrace to the police. As police officers, you don't come out into a committee and openly beat your chest that you, your parents, yourself, your wife, your children, your family belong to a ruling government. And based on that, you were harboring an intention to be an IGP long ago. Does he know what intention some of us are harboring?
But so, if he was asked the question about his political leanings, he didn't have to lie, he was on oath. So he spoke the truth about his roots being UP.
How many of that affected his conduct as a Yawaso West Wogo during the obnoxious attack on innocent Ghanaians? How many of that? We are not saying that policemen don't vote, even the EC votes. But you should be professional. You should be professional. I tend to agree that we are beginning to see the exit of Dampare. I agree to that. I agree. And I agree because, one, Dampare's professionalism at Asenov did not allow them to engage in rigging the elections there. And so till this day, they are unhappy with Dampare because he displayed professionalism there. The other issues of his not conducting himself well as an IGP, for me, is red herring. These guys who are before the police, the 3 policemen, should be standing trial now. They should be standing trial now.
For what? For speaking ill of the IGP?
No. For conspiring with a criminal intention to subvert the Constitution. This committee is going to give them some protection. And indeed, the Constitution says that you can't even use what they say there against them. So if there's going to be any other, criminal processes, that means the police must have start all over again to collect or collate evidence. I am calling on, because we've gotten to the end of this matter, I am calling on the NDC members of the committee to walk out of the committee at the point where they are now beginning to go into matters that they were not given permission to do. The terms of reference do not include what Atachia is admitting.
But they could apply to the bigger house for an expansion of their...
Have they done that?
They've not
Are
done
you
that
aware?
Yet. No, they've not done that yet. But
So-
is that not possible? Shouldn't they do that?
So there must be a reconvening of Parliament. You don't put the cat before the horse. Those matters they are going into were not part of their terms of reference. And I think that they are beginning to go into areas that are not relevant to whether or not the police, 3 policemen,
Made comments
about rigging the 2024 elections for the NPP. And for me, I would...
Do you think, given the sensitivity of the things that have come out, this committee hearing should have been public? You think so? You think it should have been public the way it was? Or you think it should have been held in camera?
The matters that we knew before the committee was set up were matters of public interest.
So being public was okay?
It was okay because the public must know why the 3 policemen, together with the chief, Burnabu, decided to go into a conclave and agree to or discuss matters of subverting the will of the people. So it was okay.
Very well.
The next thing about whether Dampare is autocratic or not, for me, neither here nor there.
Very well. Let me come to security analyst Emmanuel Kutin. We spoke yesterday on Eyewitness News, and the people said, no, I should actually have qualified your status, that you are just not a security analyst, but you are also aspiring to be a lawmaker and all of that. And I said, well, you're a Ghanaian, and you try to speak your mind, So generally, the thoughts have come up. But, I understand you are gunning to go to Parliament, but on a different platform. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. And Salom, thanks for the opportunity, and I greet my colleagues here and your cherished listeners. In fact, I've been very consistent when it comes to security issues in this country, and I can catalog them. The 2 get-more detainees, right? The U.S. military agreement, and that was even the reason I was disqualified from contesting on the NPP ticket. And as it stands now, I've come openly to declare I'm contesting the Sabuba seat as an independent candidate. So I'm very surprised this tacking that I'm an NPP person and things of that nature.
So you're no more an NPP person?
I'm no more an NPP person. I'm running as an independent candidate, in Sabuba. But having said that, Salom, you see, the issue before us is a very serious issue. And I'm saddened we are reading political meaning into some of these things. It means that in this country, there is nothing standing that doesn't have the long arms of politics. And that is very unfortunate.
Especially if, as the basis of the tape had to do with politics. Breaking the 8. So once that came up, it was going to be politics.
Yes. So I'm saddened. Look, the president has the sole prerogative, infinito, to appoint or sack. If the president decides today that he can't work with the IGP, what can we do really? We can't do anything. So let's stop the propaganda and go to the opportunities that this leak audio present to us as a country to look at how we can engineer reforms. And look, the police are not alone.
But we're looking at the terms of reference of the committee. So, for example, the authenticating the voices or the personalities in the tape, that largely we appear to have crossed. But yeah, the IGP management style, no management style is perfect, and people will always, in fact, Jesus Christ himself, when he came, he had issues with some of his people. Some of the people thought things about him, and that was fine. And Dampare is just a human being. So the issues about his managerial style, etc., you don't think are red herrings in the context of the substance of the tape. So the mafia tactics, the fact that with IGP being at the helm, NPP cannot break the 8, and so it has to be replaced, etc. So, in fact, he made an interesting analysis. COP Mensah, he told the committee that the audio was recorded before the Asinov, but after the Kumewu. And he told people that given how the IGP had made the deployment, NDC was going to win the Asinov. They were not going to win Asinov. We meaning NPP, and he said he identified as NPP. So that is the issue. What is the business of a top police officer and to be engaged in such a discussion with a top political functionary, albeit a chief, and we'll get to that. Well, I mean, that is the substance. Plotting to subvert more or less the constitution. That is serious.
Very serious. That's why I said, if you remember on our interview yesterday on Eyewitness, I called for a commission of inquiry. Because my difficulty here is, how far would the recommendation of a parliamentary select committee go? Nowhere really, beyond parliament. So if we have a commission of inquiry, probably having a judge of a good reputation with prosecutorial powers, it will give us the platform to engineer reforms. Look, I hear a lot of people saying that we've had a lot of public inquiries and it has not gone anywhere.
But they could,
in this particular case,
properly and charges brought against them directly.
No, yes, they could do that, but the police missed that opportunity. That is why the interdiction of the 3 officers, a lot of people were against it.
The interdiction was an internal police disciplinary measure.
Yes, so this audio we are talking about has always been before the police. I understand the Inspector General of Police had it, the President had it. And if the head of the police, which is the IGP, was convinced in his mind that these 3 officers have gone against their service regulations, what prevented him from engineering that internal disciplinary actions until Parliamentary Select Committee sat on the matter? And when they began to spill the beans, we used this knee-jerk action of interdicting them only to say you have suspended the interdiction within 24 hours. And Amalba is a lawyer. We have nothing like suspension of an interdiction. You are either lifting it or you are revoking it. So it means we are not sitting well within our security as an institution. And look, let's leave Dampare here and go to the real issues, okay? I'm sure you watched the videos that have come out a day or 2 ago. When Buru Nabo was caught saying that he doesn't know Dampare anywhere, it is you people who brought Dampare and took him to the president. The old man, he said the old man. So he doesn't want the old man to say that he's becoming to do him la. There is something we are missing here. The lobbying for the position of IGP has always been with the institution at its founding. You remember the Abronye Dampare case when Inspector Bonu, IGP Bonu was there? What did we do about it? The only crime of these officers is that they have been recorded. And one thing I admire about them is that they have been bold to own up. And that is the endemic challenges the institution face. So they present us with an opportunity. You understand?
But I see,
and don't forget,
jostling for position is quite normal.
Yes.
Lobbying, etc. But I think that the gravamen is the thing they were planning, or they were talking about, the mafiaism, the need to replace this IGP, so the next one who comes will be favorable to their cause, so they can break the 8. That's what it is. It's not about lobbying for the position necessarily.
We are missing a point here. My good friend Amaluba alluded to the terms of reference for the committee. One was to authenticate, and then and to see whether to identify the people who were on the behind the voices, and to make recommendations. I was on this program with you, and everything I said have come to pass. Now let's look at one thing. Are we going to throw the dirty water away with the baby because we don't like the baby? We are in a democracy. These 3 officers equally have their rights. They have come before the committee to say that indeed this tape was doctored, and they provided another tape. And the chairman of the committee alluded to that fact. Is that not the case? And from where I sit, Buru Nabo came before the committee and said that chiefs don't lie. If he should lie, he would die. On the balance of probability, the 3 officers said they never approached Buru Nabo. Buru Nabo invited them. There is a senior police commissioner. I don't want to use he or she so that they can zoom in and see who the commissioner is, who have told me that Buri invited this said person, police COP, to come for yams at his office. No, the personnel didn't go. A month later, Buru called the same commissioner again for yam. So to me, I see this thing as an entrapment. And we shouldn't reduce this thing to NDC, NPP. Like NDC have gone. NDC is of the view that if they remove Dampare, it means that they want to, steal the polls. But look, Amaliba, your party must be measured and tread cautiously. There is no way the president will appoint someone to a sensitive position like the IGP and he doesn't trust the person. So if you are fighting this issue on the lenses of politics and the IGP is made to stay and then election comes and it didn't go your way, what moral authority will you have to blame the security as an institution?
How do we know the person they are bringing all the West?
So, Amalba, if the president decides today that I know what Dampare can be my IGP, what are you going to do?
No,
but the Constitution gives him that power.
Of course.
So let us not reduce it to
politics. If it's taking him off because of these things,
yes,
society generally appears to be happy with the work of Dampare.
Salom, you see,
and so that will politically go against him. He will succeed, but politically that will go against him.
If indeed what these officers did was wrong, if you look at CI 75 and CI 76, the power, the power of indictment, right? The president can do it, the IGP in consultation with the police council can do it, and the disciplinary board can do it. An indictment came, is that not it? Within 24 hours, it was revoked. What does that tell you? It means that there's things fundamentally
No, but we also heard that there was a meeting.
Must remove the
we also heard that there was a meeting of the police council, and that decision was taken by the police council. Yes. So later we heard there was a call from above, directing the interior minister also to do.
My brother, you are a lawyer, under this same CI 95 and 96, 75 and 76, it says such powers cannot be used arbitrarily, whimsically and capriciously. Is that not it?
Discretionary power cannot be used
that way. My intelligence is that this decision was taken solely by the IGP. That was why he was ordered to reverse it.
No, but we know that there was a police council meeting.
In the spirit, what is before us is a very serious matter. The person of the IGP is mentioned, not the personality of Dr. Dampare. Don't you think it is fair that if these 3 officers are pathway, he should also pathway such that there will be an independent investigation into this matter?
For what reason? That's what.
So are you telling me that without Dampare today, the police as an institution will not function? The police has a deputy IGP. Is that not?
But why should Dampare give way?
In the arsenals of this country, we've never had this before.
On your screen, dated 7th of September 2022, the police service has interdicted Commissioner of Police, Mr. George Alex Mensah, Superintendent Mr. Emmanuel Eric Jebi, and Superintendent Mr. George Lysander Asari in connection with the audio tape which has become a subject matter of investigation by Parliament. So the interdiction is to make way for disciplinary proceedings into their conduct in line with police service regulations. So it's backed by law.
They have not even stated the service code they have broken. They should have stated in the interdiction letter that you have broken this service code A or B or C. And as a result, your continuous presence to exist as a police officer has become untenable. That was not done.
But that's just a style of writing. We know the provisions.
No,
I mean,
look.
We know the provisions.
You see, what the police is facing now is what we call conflict management. Do you understand?
That's what
I'm coming. Amaliba, look, let's treat this issue as a serious national security issue.
Very well.
And remove the political lenses.
Very well. Let me
no,
deal with
he made a statement.
the politician.
No, I'm coming. You made a statement that the Dampari seem to be doing well and the general public believes so. What is the research you have done to prove
by
to
observation?
that?
I mean, by observation. We've seen other IGPs.
Look,
We've seen how he's building
the police
public
as an institution today look outside so nice, but in the inside is rotten.
But if you are stopping people from doing what they were doing, which was wrong, by benefiting them, I mean, you should expect that they'll fight back. So, for example, if in the past, the deployment of police to various by-elections, etc., was such that it will inure to the benefit of the ruling party, which is not correct, and now he is stopping that, you don't expect the people who are benefiting those times to be happy today. But let me take the views of...
It cannot also be said that we've had several IGPs, but under this very one, the issues has become 1 minute. They both stop with who? The head of the institution.
Very well. Let me take the Honorable Na's view. Yes, this really is not a good place to be.
So, to be honest and sincere with you, initially when I heard the tape, personally, I condemned it. And I just jumped into conclusion that, look, there's nothing much from this tape. But when Honorable Amako Fibwa raised the issue in Parliament, and Speaker decided to refer the matter to a committee, I also came to a conclusion that, look, this matter will not get anywhere. Because we have 3 members from the minority, 3 members from the majority, and then an independent person. On several occasions, my 4 years in Parliament, I've given me some experience. That, look, there have been series of committees that at the end of the day, we have the majority report and then minority report. But this tape saga has opened my eyes and have made me revise my decision and my thought. Simply because there are issues that have been raised by these people who have appeared before the committee. And it is worried. Look, I have the view that, look, there are certain institutions in this country that we need to make a serious amendment in our constitution and take it from the presidency. One is the police, one is the fire, one is the immigration, because all these things, EC and all those things. Because no matter what it is, the president might have powers, supreme powers over these people. We are in this country. How do you become a member of parliament or a parliamentary candidate in a political party? You should be a member of that party. You should be a card-bearing member of that party. Am I right? But somebody resigned within some few months. He became a parliamentary candidate and he became a member of parliament in the police service. We have, the point is that the system in which we find ourselves today, in the police, in the security agencies, is a bigger problem for us.
He should resign.
You understand? So if somebody go to the committee and he says that my route for my childbirth is UP.
But there's nothing wrong with that.
But
that is influencing the deployment in his mind.
That is where I'm saying that then that power should be taken from the president. So you won't go and lobby from the president to become an IGP. And the person right to become an IGP because he has passed through the mill. But because the person is being appointed by the president, and the president feels that if my party comes to power, I can go and lobby for that position, you will be influenced by the system. You understand? For example, when Alex, ACP or whatever, DP or whatever,
COP Alex,
he said there has been constant meeting between John Mahama, former president, and IGP. And that IGP has been giving, how do you call it, John Mahama slots, 100, 300 slots. When you sit back and you listen to some of these things, you ask yourself, what kind of politics are we doing to our security agencies? So for me, I think that, yes, it is good that we are investigating this. I believe that the committee should continue to investigate and get to the root of the matter. If you are saying IGP should not be invited for the committee, I disagree. Somebody have come to a committee to make allegation against the IGP, and you are saying that he doesn't have the right to go and defend himself.
Would that not be going beyond the outside of their scope, the scope of the committee?
The committee was asked to indicate whether the audio is right,
and they said it's their voice.
Yes,
on the most part.
That should other revelations.
That should end it. They have to go for an expansion of the scope. You think that commission of inquiry will do?
That's what I think.
IGP should step aside.
I don't think IGP should step aside for now. For me, I think that there should be a total overhauling in our security agencies.
Okay, so that calls for legal changes and all of that. Very well. Give me one recommendation, security analyst, just one.
I think
just
the
one.
recommendation is what the Constitutional Review Committee brought some time ago, that it should be at the domain of the Public Service Commission so that the 3 senior ones are interviewed and recommended to the president.
Very well. Frankly, do you agree to that, taking the power of appointment from the president?
Oh, without a doubt.
Very well.
But as far as this committee's work goes, it ended for me long ago.
Very well. Amaliba, Constitutional Review, you agree that the powers be taken from the president?
But it is dangerous. Nowhere in the world has the power to appoint the police top officer has been taken away from the president. It's dangerous.
Very well.
You know what police did to overthrow Nkrumah? So it's dangerous. We need a hybrid.
But look at the US.
Very well. Thank you so much, guys. We'll conclude today's program.
We need a hybrid.
This matter, I'm sure, will come up again next week, and we'll be happy to deal with it.